thank you everybody for attending. I'm calling the school board meeting for October 4th, 2022 to order. Thank you. And we will go ahead and continue on with the agenda. Today's Pledge of Allegiance will be performed by our very own Vice Chair, Mr. Julius Melendez. We will also have performances for the National Anthem by the PHS chorus. Mission statement by Mr. Anthony Cook, interpretation services by Dr. Janet Long, and then we will continue with positive comments. If you would, stand with me for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you. Please join me in looking at the flag. Our folks in Lee County and some other places don't have a building to do so. So the fact that we're in Osceola County are able to do so, please follow me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Anthony Cook here to read our mission statement. SDOC is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Dr. Jeanette Long from the Multicultural Department to provide interpretation services to whoever needs it in Spanish. Hola, soy la doctora Long, Jeanette Long, del Departamento Multicultural, y si hay alguien que necesita interpretación en español, estoy desde la esquina.
Thank you, Dr. Long. Board members, now is the time that we settle ourselves into positive comments. I will actually start with Dr. Pace today.
Oh, thank you, Chairwoman Castillo. It is truly with heartfelt gratitude that I say how wonderful our teams have responded over the course of the last 2 weeks to come together and serve our community, our students, our staff, and our schools through Hurricane Ian, certainly in partnership with others. But we have had employees step up around the clock, from security, maintenance, facilities, transportation, school nutrition, along with our school administrators and staff who served in shelters, not just to put a roof over people's heads, but also to serve them with love and kindness and care when it was a very, very scary time for many of them. We had shelters, as you know, at Central Avenue, Kissimmee Middle, Celebration High School, Harmony High School, Liberty High School, and Narcoossee Middle School, and it's just been an incredible gesture. In addition, over the course of the last 2 days, I see Lillian Safante here from our Special Programs Office. She and members of our Student Services team, social workers along with me, have been visiting shelters, talking to families, trying to identify what their needs are to rally around and see what we can do to try to help them. What we have found is that a lot of our families right now who've had to be displaced are not in shelters, and instead they've either sought alternative housing or they are perhaps relocated, but we want to encourage everybody who cannot make it to school or work to please, please, please reach out to your supervisor, to your principal, because we want to make sure that we're connecting you with those resources. And again, just a huge heartfelt gratitude to everybody who's been a part of that. We have a maintenance team of 10 who has volunteered also to go down to Lee County to help them try to get schools opened for Monday as best they can. They'll be leaving on Thursday morning and coming back on Sunday. So a lot of folks really pitching in, and I couldn't be more grateful and proud.
Dr. Pace? Mr. Bass?
Yeah, we've had a rough week, all of us have, and I think there's one thing that we can all agree upon is that our thoughts and our prayers go out to everyone who had to suffer through this storm. I hope you came through it unscathed, and your home is fine, and you have no damage to your home, and all your friends and family are safe. We all know people who didn't quite happen for them, and their homes have been damaged and been flooded. Some of us longtime residents, Charlie, Francis, and Gene was our only benchmark of how dangerous and how bad hurricanes can get, but Ian left us another element, and the damage keeps occurring. We've never seen anything like that. And to echo what Dr. Pace says, I want to thank her and the leadership team for keeping us in a tight loop, because there was a lot of people that was reaching out to all of our board members regarding the shelters, and thank you for keeping all of that and keeping us abreast of what's going on. Two quick updates. Kind of proud on two little projects that I've been working on. I had mentioned I wanted to create a mentor program at the beginning of the year. Found out a teacher at St. Cloud Middle School had already begun and self-funded this particular mentor program, and it was really successful. So again, rather than trying to recreate something, we met with Tina Wybrell, that's the teacher, and with Tom Phelps, and I said, I want to expand this into all of our middle schools. And as of right now, I'm happy to say, and thank you, Tom, for all the support. We've got, 5 schools. It's fully funded, and that mentor program is in 5 of our middle schools. And thank you, and I'm looking forward to a great success with that. And second program we've tried to put this in place for several years, even prior to me being on the board, is an activity bus. Now, let me explain what an activity bus is. We all know what the traffic is like driving around here. Everybody nodding their heads, it's terrible. And that's another conversation altogether. But what it's creating backlog and trying to transport our athletes from, to other area schools to play games, play baseball, football, etc. I want to try to keep all of the kids safe. It's better if they all travel together in one bus. But what happens is kids that are driving, they're all carpooling, and that puts our student drivers on these dangerous roads. And it just makes more sense to put them in one bus. Problem is, all of our assigned bus drivers are delivering kids home from school towards the end of the day. So I had a coach reach out to me and was saying, we want to schedule these games with Brevard and Osceola and Seminole and Orange counties, but we can't get bus drivers and can't get buses in until 5 or 5:30, and that's way too late to leave, because then we can't start the games in Brevard County, et cetera, until 7 o'clock, and other teams, they don't want to play. So we have to be able to leave the school early. So I met with R.B. Creech, our transportation director, and he come up with a game plan for us, providing activity buses at each school, and then streamlining the ability to get CDL certification for our coaches or principals or whoever at the school can drive the bus. It will not bump up against any problems with our union drivers, and we would have to leave early enough that we wouldn't cross over from any participation that they can give us. So I know I'm getting a little long-winded, but we're meeting, Ryan Adams and myself are going to meet with the athletic directors this month with the template and give them their guidance on how we can make this up and get this up and running. And I think it'll provide safety for all of our students and allow our student athletes to travel to other areas. So that's all I have. Sorry to be so long-winded, but it's been a cool little project I've been working on.
Thank you so much for that update, Mr. Bass. Thank you. Mr. Melendez.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I was going to acknowledge a couple students today, but unfortunately Hurricane Ian had other plans. The school district was closed and everything like that. I do want to publicly acknowledge the superintendent as well. I was immediately informed about what we were doing, what days we were going to be closed. We use social media pretty well. I think there was phone calls out there. I don't think there were too many parents that complained to me that they didn't know which days they were going to be closed for school. So we do appreciate that. And so with that being said, I know everybody got impacted a little bit differently. And so we're going to try to do our best to work with students to get them caught up. I know there was some talk about, a potential makeup day. Well, I don't know the formula yet on how many days we got to miss before we have to have a makeup day. But we promise, and I talked to Dr. Pace, and she agreed that we're not going to mess with Thanksgiving. So I made that out there, and before I made that post, I made it clear with her, Thanksgiving and Christmas, no, those are our babies, because a lot of times parents, book flights way in advance and things like that. So we'll try to do other things, maybe do digital learning, or worst case scenario, add a couple of days at the end of the school year. But that's still too early because, believe it or not, it's not the end of hurricane season yet. So there could be another potential day lost. So, but just to let everyone know that your Thanksgiving and your Christmas plans, keep them. I don't care what happens. We're not going to take it away. Worst case scenario, your summer plans might get shortened a little bit. But I can at least tell you from that perspective that we are doing the best we can. And again, I also want to thank our staff again, because technically the hurricane is, a county asset, but the school district, I didn't realize we were that involved. Not only I knew we were shelters, but I didn't know how much staff we had dedicated to helping out and providing food and everything else like that. And so it was kind of a learning process for myself. And I do appreciate, from the bottom of my heart, all the staff members that stayed longer, the principals of the schools to make sure that everything was running. Not everything was perfect, but we don't always have hurricane drills every day, so, but the fact is that I do appreciate, the role of education being beyond just education, being able to take care of the community. So thank you guys.
Mr. Arguello.
Yes, thank you. I just want to thank the community. I'm very proud of this community for how it came together after the hurricane, during the hurricane. I live at the lowest point in my neighborhood, and so my house, my front yard was kind of flooded. Fortunately, I don't think anyone in my neighborhood had real serious effects from the storm, aside from not being able to pull out of their driveway for a couple of days. But it's really great to see people who are stuck in their homes come together, laugh, and just enjoy some conversation and some fellowship during a time as serious as a hurricane this large. So I love this community. I'm very proud to serve it, and I'm very proud to be a member of it. I'd also like to thank all the employees, because you guys are essentially the group that settles the students' nerves after something like this. They spend more time with you than they spend with their parents once they get back to school, and it's your role in the emotional health, well-being of these students is key. And so the fact that you're spending this time and you can bring our students, the people that we care the most about in this county, down a notch, I'm very grateful for what you guys are doing. Several weeks ago, I mentioned that I began a little journey of teaching middle school geography and world geography, law studies, and civics. And I'm just reporting that it's not nearly as easy as it looks. It is, it's like trying to get people to do synchronized jumping jacks without telling them that they're supposed to be doing synchronized jumping jacks. And the better you are at it, the quicker that happens, and it could be a year, or it could be maybe a month, or I haven't found out exactly. So it's going to take me a while to get these guys synchronized doing jumping jacks together. But it is quite rewarding immediately. The relationships that you build, the dependence that they have for not just their emotional well-being, but for their curiosity and just their human nature of looking up to someone of authority and then trying to get the most out of that hour while you are in that teenage mindset where everything is an inconvenience to you is a challenge. So I have so much respect for the teachers and the people who are in the classrooms and just the whole apparatus of people on the ground doing so many things under very difficult circumstances, which is just being around kids that are not your own. And in my case, your own. There's nothing like it. And so I just wanted to say thank you to all the teachers again. You can't say it enough, especially now that I'm learning how to become one. So thank you all.
Thank you. I'll be brief. First is Angel Trejo and Donovan Bohannon here. Okay, so I will recognize them, but they're not here, not an issue. We'll go ahead and start with what the theme has been. Everyone has been thanking the folks who assisted throughout this very difficult time in our community. So I will thank them again because they deserve it. So every support staff member, every admin, every parent who came together to help the community during this time, thank you once again. And I know that we do not say it enough. So I know there are folks who were in shelters helping that wouldn't leave, even though they could, just to make sure that our community was okay. And some special highlights, Principal Bagan from Pleasant Hill started a committee to help the folks in her community and to make sure that people had what they needed. And so I just wanted to make sure that if you go to Pleasant Hill, your principal is amazing. And I wanted to recognize her publicly. And I also wanted to spotlight the Cub Scouts from Celebration K-8 who actually went on a Saturday, picked up a broom, and they cleaned up their school so that it would be ready for Tuesday. So excellent work there, kids. And I was so happy to be able to give you a popsicle, which is all I had for them during that time. Great work. And I am going to recognize Angel Trejo and Donovan Bohannon, who are not here. These were printed before, by the way. That's why I got them. They got the highest level ranking award for the Eagle Scouts, which is really difficult to get. So they can come pick these up. They have a $25 gift card as well as a certificate. And if you know these two really amazing students from OHS, they're awesome, and say hello and congratulations to them. So with that, I will go ahead and continue on with the rest of our agenda. We have a special fine arts moment from the Poinciana High School small ensemble. So we are ready for that. invite Mr. Anthony Cook to recognize our Sunrise Scholars.
Mr. Cook back for some more. As you know, we're a district that promotes SDLC 4E, meaning that once a student graduates from our K-12 system, they're either going to enroll in a 2-year or 4-year technical college, enlist in the military, seek employment, or take an intentional gap year that we refer to as expiration. And part of that, we're trying to create partnerships with organizations, universities, businesses to help our students transition. About 3 years ago, we were fortunate enough to find an organization in our backyard that helps students transition off to the university. So that's all I'm going to speak to that, because we actually have the top dog for that organization here for Sunrise Scholars. I'm going to pass it off to him so that he can give you a brief on exactly what Sunrise Scholars does, and then after he does that, we're going to recognize our students who have been accepted to said program. Okay, come on up. This is Mr. Ken Summers. Thank you. I always like to talk to the community, but
okay.
All
right, maybe on the side so I don't have my back to anyone. Does that work? All right. Thanks for having me here. My name is Ken Summers. I am the CEO, aka Top Dog, of Sunrise Scholars Foundation. And so we are a foundation that provides comprehensive college counseling and mentoring to high-achieving, low-income, underrepresented students from across the state of Florida. And so just quickly, why do we do that? Well, my co-founder, Jake Harding, and I had been in education collectively for more than 30 years. And he comes from a first-gen low-income background. I was a Peace Corps volunteer, and we love the idea of helping lift up under-resourced populations. And so we just did a little bit of research, and it was right there in front of us. ACT says that there are 90,000 students each year that have an average of 27.6 on the ACT, pass all 4 readiness requirements, and none of them go to college. And we have a suspicion that most of those students are low-income, high-achieving, low-income, underrepresented students. If you look at most selective colleges across the United States, 74% of those colleges are comprised of students from the top quartile of income. 74% of students at those colleges come from the top quartile of income. 3% come from the bottom quartile of income. And so there can be a lot of reasons for this, but one thing we thought we could maybe at least help with was providing individualized comprehensive college counseling, right? The guidance counselor ratios across the state of Florida, I can't speak for Osceola County, are 477 to 1. And that's after scheduling, testing, and discipline. So how are students, high-achieving young women like these 5 women over here, going to know the opportunities they can access that can transform their lives? So we created a program that provides college counseling and mentoring to help level the playing field, right? Because our vision is college access should be based on talent, impact, and community character, not who your parents were or what zip code they grew up in. So just briefly, what we do is each year, we'll put out a request for applications, and students can go on and fill out a 30 to 45-minute application to Sunrise Scholars. We'll take a look at it, we'll nominate semifinalists, and from there, they'll do an interview, and then we'll do some academic and financial scrubbing to make sure they're truly low income and that their grades represent what they said they did, and then we'll make our selections. You should know that of the 200 scholars that applied this year, we accepted just over 10%, right? So that's a 10% yield, akin to what most of the top colleges have in terms of their acceptance rates. Once accepted, these 5 ladies and 16 other scholars joined us for a 3-day summer symposium at Eckerd College, which is a part college boot camp, and it's also part camp, really, just getting to know each other, because we think they can be the best pillars of support for each other because they're sharing the same journey. They also receive an iPad with a data plan. From there, over the summer, they do 12 hours of SAT prep with Revolution Prep, and then we begin our college counseling. So right now, each of these students is working with myself or my co-founder, and they will receive individualized college counseling once each week, and that goes from essay, financial aid counseling, college lists, to helping with the FAFSA, helping with the CSS profile for some of the private schools that offer a lot of money. From there, we'll help them understand, right, kind of what choices and options they have in front of them. It's obviously never our choice, but we can lay out all the information so parents and students can make the best decisions. The final thing I will say is, initially we started as a college access organization, but we realized quickly that high-achieving, low-income, underrepresented students aren't getting through college at the same rate as their counterparts. And so we also have a mentoring program. So we have near peers who are now Sunrise Scholars that are their mentors, so they'll connect maybe 2 or 3 times a semester. We provide $750 in micro scholarships, so if they go up north to Colgate University, which gets awfully cold, I went to school near there, they can buy boots, they can buy a jacket. We just want to make sure they're overcoming those small obstacles that don't preclude them from accessing this transformational opportunity. If they go abroad, we give them another $750 because we want them to experience the world. So how does this pertain specifically to Osceola County? This is our 3rd year. Of our 68 current scholars, 18 come from Osceola County, thanks to this guy right here. And really, I mean, Anthony, this is the cradle of Sunrise Scholars. Of the first 13 from our 2 cohorts, because these young ladies are in the process of applying to college, Osceola County scholars averaged, and I'm not going to go on forever here, I'm going to wrap up shortly, but Osceola County scholars, the first 13 from the first 2 cohorts, all went out of state and all went to private schools that typically have sticker prices of $75,000 to $80,000, which immediately scares students away. Students hear bright futures, which is great, we fully support it, but we want them to know there are 100% need met schools out there. And proof of this is that 13 Osceola scholars so far have all gone out of states to private schools. Collectively, they've averaged more than $290,000 in grant money, right? So that works out to on average about $73,000 to $75,000 a year that they're receiving in grants that they'll never have to pay back. And they're winding up at schools with much higher graduation rates. And so some of those schools for Osceola scholars are Washington University in St. Louis, Middlebury College, Colgate, Davidson, Vassar, University of Chicago, Haverford, the list goes on. And so last thing I want to say before we introduce our amazing scholars is just what a phenomenal team, particularly at Neo City and Poinciana, who we've worked with so far, and with Anthony here. We really appreciate all of the support of the college and career counseling folks. So thank you.
You want to call him up?
Sure, yes. So the first scholar I'll call up is Amina Ahmed. The second scholar I'll call up is Shania Carrasco. The third scholar I will call up is Jamie Lacanila. The fourth scholar I will call up is Kendall Meltenbacher. And the final scholar I will call up is Deliet Pena.
Our missing scholar is Marcelina Palmer. She's at Neo City, so we just want to clap her up so she can feel it. Right here, this young lady that's coming up to you. And for those of you that are here, if you want to learn more about Sunrise Scholars, we're actually going to have Ken and Jacob on tomorrow evening in our virtual CCLR corner. You can find that information on the district website. If you go to the guidance department's page, we have the links that you can select. Sunrise Scholars, jump in at 6 p.m. They'll be presenting live Q&A. I'll be on with them. And this way you can learn more. So if you have students that are here that might qualify for this program tonight or tomorrow night is going to be your opportunity to find out about that. Yeah, so if we want to give them one last round of applause. Thank you, board.
Thank you. Incredible. Good luck to all of the recipients. We are so proud of you. And good job, parents, as well. As they're making their way out, I'd also like to invite Mr. Jeff Arnott to come and talk to us about Ford Motor Company.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Board, Dr. Pace, wonderful staff, and also what I call the Skill Up Nation, Skill Up Osceola Nation. I'm happy to present tonight to Sharon Walker, who is a new Ford Tech technical placement specialist for Ford Motor Company, who could, I don't think she's here. She said she might, but she was some of the hurricane issues with her and so forth like that. But part of our new Skill Up program, I guess, we now have a Fortune 500 company that's working close with us. In fact, they're the 15th largest company in America with $155 billion annual revenue, Ford Motor Company. And we just wanted to recognize them. They actually donated 2 cars to us, which you've already accepted in a previous board meeting, a 2012 Ford Focus and a 2014 Ford Focus. And they're working on getting us an electric vehicle as well once we get into the new age of that stuff. They're cars that they run, but they won't drive because I guess the transmissions are out in them. But they're basically made for just for students to have that experience of that. And it's also spurred off into a wonderful talk about the Skill Up Osceola community, some of the other efforts. Kisselback Ford gave us a brand new lift over at OTEC, which was nice. I know some of you came to the ribbon cutting for that. And also in conjunction with the Florida Auto Dealers Association as well, Central Florida Auto Dealers Association. So we wanted to recognize their efforts as well. I wish I could give them the certificates today, but I can't do that. But we got some exciting stuff coming around the corner when it comes to the expansion of our automotive programs, including some apprenticeship programs with our own bus barn, which I know that'll be some exciting stuff that I don't want to get too many chickens out of the roost just yet, but we'll announce that during Apprenticeship Week, which is coming up in November, and we'll be back for that. Some of the exciting efforts we're doing there. But we just want to thank you for being part of the Skill Up Osceola community and supporting these efforts. And I want to thank Ford Motor Company once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. I'd like to invite Andy Heyman and Help Now of Osceola to talk to us about National Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for welcoming us here again this year. My name is Christina Montalvo. I am the Primary Prevention Specialist for Help Now of Osceola County. Over the course of the pandemic, we have seen a pattern of domestic violence, teen dating violence, and bullying on the rise. The students lost their safe spaces, their support groups. Most students had no choice but to stay in toxic environments, and most students still are. At Help Now of Osceola, our primary prevention team focuses on ensuring all children in Osceola County are heard, are seen, are understood, and are safe. Expect Respect is our school program that helps provide students with techniques on how to create and maintain healthy relationships. They learn how to understand what red flags are, how to build their confidence in order for them to identify those red flags quickly and to escape the horrendous cycle of abuse. We also have Camp Hope America, a mentorship program within the Alliance for Hope International. This is another program our children in Osceola County, this is another program for our children in Osceola County that have suffered from trauma of domestic violence. With Camp Hope America, we are able to provide the children with experiences, mentorship, and provide that vision of hope. Each monthly outing we host allows us opportunities to learn more about each child, utilize trauma-informed techniques to properly help them overcome their trauma, and, of course, to provide them hope that life will get better. October highlights Domestic Violence Awareness Month, whereas Help Now is the certified domestic violence center that has provided services for survivors of domestic violence and their children in Osceola County for the past 39 years. Whereas between 3.3 million and 10 million children in the United States live in a household where domestic violence is present, and whereas domestic violence in childhood is directly connected with learning difficulties, lower IQ scores, deficiencies in visual, motor skills, and problems with attention and memory, insomnia, irritability, distractibility, and truancy. And whereas studies have shown that school-age children who witnessed violence display a wide range of problem behaviors, including depression, anxiety, and violence towards peers. And
Whereas cognitive childhood exposure to family violence disrupt cognitive and social development and leads to an array of adverse outcomes such as violence and victimization. Whereas teen dating violence can increase the risk of later substance abuse, mental health problems, sexual risk behaviors, teen pregnancy, suicide, weight control, and ongoing difficulties with intimate partner relationships. And
whereas by providing young people with education about healthy relationships and relationship skills, and by changing attitudes that support violence, we recognize that dating violence can be prevented. And now therefore, we, the Osceola County School Board, do hereby proclaim October 2022 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month and call upon the citizens of our community to join us in working towards the elimination of personal and institutional violence against all persons.
Motion to adopt the proclamation.
I have a motion by Mr. Thacker and a second by Mr. Arguello. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We do have the adoption of the proclamation of National Bus Safety Week. However, I do not have anyone to read the proclamation. Oh, yes, I do. How wrong was I? Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Carla Geigel, and I'm one of the trainers with the School District of Osceola County's Transportation Department, and I'll be reading the proclamation. Whereas every year, the nation's 480,000 public school buses travel more than 6.2 billion miles to transport over 26 million students, more than half of America's school children, to and from school, and also school-related activities. And whereas Osceola School District's excellent safety record in transporting students to school each day on school buses has been achieved and must be maintained. And whereas school bus transportation is one of the safest forms of transportation in the United States, and school buses comprise the country's largest mass transportation fleet. And whereas school buses meet higher construction, equipment, and inspection standards than any other vehicle, the school bus drivers meet higher qualification, training, and testing standards than any other drivers. Whereas the theme of this year's National School Bus Safety Week is one bus plus one driver equals a big impact on education. And whereas motorists must remember to stop when a school bus has stopped and has its stop arm extended and red lights flashing. And whereas activities during School Bus Safety Week and throughout the year provide evidence of Osceola School District's commitment to ensure the health and safety of school children who ride school buses, as well as those students that walk, bicycle, or ride in cars to school. Now therefore be it resolved that the Osceola School Board does hereby proclaim October 17th through the 22nd of 2022 as National School Bus Safety Week. Thank you.
I have a motion by Mr. Arguello and a second by Mr. Bass. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
I gotta ask you, were you the one that were with me when I was driving the bus, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you, I don't know what was more nerve-wracking, driving the bus or having the piercing eyes, knowing that you were looking at the back of my head the whole time.
I had to do what I had to do
You
to make
did.
sure he was a
You
driver
were
that was
phenomenal.
going to transport my students safely. Thank you so much. We do not have any appointments or transfers, is that correct, Dr. Pace?
That's correct.
Okay, we'll move on to your superintendent update.
Just very briefly wanted to announce a few things. As you know, our 5-day closure did interrupt the finishing up of the first round of progress monitoring for our ELA and math subjects, as well as some of our EOC retakes. The state has extended that deadline through October the 7th. But if we have any students out there who have not yet completed those assessments, we really need to get them in school and get that baseline assessment or give them the opportunity to complete a graduation requirement. In addition, our community relations team is working with our foundation and a number of our schools to generate a supply drive to help our community, particularly those most impacted by Hurricane Ian. So we really, really appreciate that partnership. There are flyers in both English and Spanish available on our website. We've had a tremendous amount of outreach for people about how can we help. So we felt like this was the best way to kind of steer them all to one area, and we appreciate the foundation's support in that piece. I also wanted to share with any of our staff members who are listening who haven't yet gotten the information. If you were negatively impacted by the hurricane due to flooding, due to having to leave your home, we do have in board policy up to 10 days of natural disaster leave. There's an application process. Our principals and supervisors all have that information. Again, we just really want to make sure that we're connecting folks with those important resources. And then on a really positive note, we have a team of district administrators and folks from HR, Human Resources Department, in Puerto Rico this week, primarily attending a conference to support our dual language learners, but also taking advantage on either end of that trip to engage in a recruitment effort that was organized ahead of time. On Monday, we interviewed 33 candidates that were screened and had 11 conditional offers for a social studies teacher, 3 elementary school teachers, a reading teacher, 4 Spanish teachers, 2 paras, and 2 DLs. I'm not sure what that is. I don't think it's driver's ed, but didn't have a chance to figure that out today because we're getting kids back into school. And then before they come home, they'll be going to San Juan, where we already have 100 pre-screened candidates. So really looking very aggressively to try to continue to fill our vacancies with our teachers. And that is all I have, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Pace. I do have one question. I have a concerned citizen who texted me about some games that may have been canceled, specifically for girls volleyball. I don't have the all of the details. I'm not sure if you know which specific issue we're talking about.
I do.
Okay.
We're coming up upon the end of the regular season of volleyball. It ends next week. And due to the 5-day closure, some of our teams weren't able to practice and get together and stay in that top conditioning piece. We also have homecoming makeup games and dances this coming weekend, as well as some other things going on the high school campuses. So Mr. Adams, our district AD, got with the ADs from our high schools as well as the volleyball coaches to look at the Orange Blossom Conference tournament and tried to figure out the best way to try to reschedule it. And it was very, very difficult to maintain and find 3 days. So the proposal was to turn it down to 2 days. That does not prevent them from moving on into district play and district championships, but that's where we are right now. I will have further conversation with Mr. Adams about that tomorrow. And we'll work with Dr. Evans to see if there are any other alternatives. I know I did speak with that parent this afternoon late. We're not making excuses. It's not that volleyball is not equally important. It's just every time that you have a closure, trying to fit in all of these things is difficult because we also have swimming conferences coming up. We have the football piece with different games as well as all these other activities that we've got to try to make up.
This will be posted. I mean, because I'm that specific citizen contacted me, so I want to make sure that I am able to keep them in the loop.
I will keep the board informed as we work through that issue.
Thank you, Ms. Regula. You have a comment or question?
Yes, I was going to comment on the same thing, actually. I think it's pretty clear that if this were the football season, that we wouldn't be canceling this, they would be doing it.
Actually, all of the football games last Friday were canceled.
Right, but they're going to make those up. If this were the end of the year football championship, the way it is for volleyball, they wouldn't be canceling it.
It's not the end of the year championship for the competitive sport. That's their district and state level, district, regional, and then state level play, and that is fully scheduled. That's why we have to complete our regular games and our local conference play by the end of next week.
But to all these parents, this is probably the marquee situation. I get it, you don't want to do it, I understand.
Sir.
Okay? But what I'm saying is that
We want to do the best we can, but we had to miss 5 days of school beyond our control.
Right, I don't think that you're surprising anyone with the fact that we missed 5 days of school. I'm just saying that if this were a boys' team, if it were the football team, I don't think that they would be canceling a tournament. That's what, I'm just saying. I think everyone can agree, for the most part, the majority of people would agree that if this were a boys' team, if it were football, I don't know, they'd probably do it.
I respect your opinion, sir.
Yes, I think everyone knows that as well. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping us posted, Dr. Pace. We'll move on to agenda modifications. Do you want to go ahead and call out some agenda modifications that have already been listed, if you want, Dr. Pace?
That would be great.
So we're pulling 11.08.
11.01, I believe.
11.01.
Oh, wait, no, it is 11.08, I
Okay,
apologize.
11.08, 19.01, and 7.04 have already been pulled out of this week's agenda. I will removed.
Yeah, you said it kind of fast. I don't know, wait.
Okay, let me go back. 11.08, 19.01, 7.04. Thank you. And I will entertain any additional modifications. I will start with Mr. Arguello.
Yes, 7.02. Pull from consent. 7.03. 11.15. 12.01. And discussion on 19.02.
Thank you. Mr. Melendez.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure I don't have any overlapping. 8.01, 8.03, 11.03, 14.01, 14.03, 14.03, and then the last one is 21.01.
Thank you. Mr. Thacker. Thank you, Mr. Bass. And Dr. Rees, I've already listed yours. So just to confirm, we are pulling from the agenda 11.08, 19.01, 7.04, 7.02, 7.03, 11.15, 12.01, 8.01, 8.03, 11.03, 14.01, 14.03, and 21.01. Did I miss anything? I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Make motion to approve the agenda with changes chairman discussed.
Second motion.
Motion from Mr. Thacker, second from Mr. Melendez. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign? Thank you. We'll begin with, it looks like 7.02.
We just stepped out.
Okay, we'll move on to 7.03.
First one is Julie says it's 8.01 if you want to skip to that.
Yeah, I'm okay with going backwards.
Well, we're not. We're gonna move on. 8.01.
8.01 is the district assessment schedule. And I remember we got a packet, but we're supposed to have like some kind of workshop, I believe, when we had the strategic plan. I remember the superintendent speaking about, you know, maybe there is a possibility that there's too many tests, and we're gonna kind of review that. And so, and here it says approving the schedule, but are we gonna have an actual workshop and discuss it about what's gonna get modified and what cannot be modified? And so, it's not, I'm not against approving this, I just, you know, was under the assumption that we would have that discussion and see if we can try to get rid of a couple of them that are too much.
Certainly open to a workshop, it's at the board's pleasure to schedule it.
Okay.
Can we move that discussion for
new business?
board discussion
Absolutely.
later on?
Yep,
Is that
yep,
okay?
yep. Yes,
Got
ma'am.
it. Thank you.
Okay.
So what are we doing with this one then?
You just want a discussion, yes, Mr. Melendez?
Yeah, well, I guess at this point is, actually I'm confused now. Are we asking to approve the scheduled assessments, or are we gonna have a workshop first to discuss which assessments maybe got tailored? Do we eliminate any assessments? Because we spoke about it before. I'm just a little bit confused a little bit, because I remember you acknowledged that maybe there are too many. So with this recommendation, where there's some that were eliminated, you know what I mean?
And if you remember, sir, following that initial discussion in our strategic planning workshop, I brought back the packet of information and went over it with you guys in one of my updates about how we had gone through and tried to scale back any that weren't necessary and how many days that were there. happy to have further discussion, but we're required to submit a report to the state, and there has been no further conversation about the schedule that we presented several board meetings ago. I don't have the exact date, but I can go back and look.
Yeah, because that way I'd just like to hear about it, because it was presented, it was like an overwhelming document that looked like a lot. And I didn't know if the OCEA or anybody had any, recommendations, were they okay with it, or things like that to follow up. So that's my only hesitancy to approve something. I just need, like, if they can tell me right now that they looked at it and they're okay with it, I'm fine with it as well. Or if you want me to delay it 1 week, we can kind of review it.
I have not looked at anything that you're talking about, to be honest with you.
I do.
But has it been sent to the OCEA?
I'm not sure what we're speaking about. I was outside. I came in because I couldn't pick
Yeah.
up.
It's the schedule for district mandated assessments. It's the assessment schedule for 22-23. And I remember during one of our strategic planning sessions, we spoke about maybe there's too many assessments with the PMI or the state level, and then we had our own district assessments and all these other assessments. And it was overwhelming even just talking about all the different assessments. And so we just kind of wanted to revise it and maybe modify some of the schedule. And so I think that Dr. Pace now is making recommendations. I just wanted to get your assurance that you guys looked at it to give us the okay with it, And if not, then I'd rather delay it for one board meeting for you to say yes. And
Not that I have not looked at it, and I would always defer to someone who's in the trenches, who is subject to what's happening here.
If I may, the only tests that are identified on this statewide assessment calendar that aren't uniform required statewide assessments are the ACT. This does not include any district diagnostic tests. These are all required. EOCs, FAST is the progress monitoring test, PSAT is a state assessment, FSA, that's a state assessment, BEST is your state assessment. So these are all, this is the uniform statewide assessment calendar.
okay, so it's the state calendar, not the district calendar. Okay, the district calendar is what we have control over.
I'm happy to bring that back for further discussion.
Okay, then I retract my previous motion to move it. So I motion to approve this item with a new business. Instead, I'd rather discuss when we're going to have a workshop for district-wide assessments, not statewide assessments.
Second motion to approve this.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Melendez, a second by Mr. Thacker to approve item 8.03.
Oh, one.
Support, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Thank you. Mr. Arguello, you stepped out of the room when we were reviewing the items that you pulled. So I will we'll go back to 7.02.
Yes. Thank you. So I've had some teachers reach out to me saying that because they were out of field for 1 year, they could no longer come back and teach in their field, not being a good, not having a ton of knowledge on this particular subject area. I just wanted to highlight the circumstances surrounding out of field. How long are teachers allowed to be out of field? And if they go out of field, let's say 1 year, are they allowed to go back into field or go back out of field again? And are those district policies or are those state policies?
There are state guidelines relevant to how long someone can be out of field. They must be taking coursework to get into the field of certification. This year, because of the nature of COVID and the pandemic, and the fact that some people weren't able to participate in some of the professional development, we were granted an opportunity to offer waivers for up to one more additional year. And as you can see here, that's 32 out-of-field waivers were requested due to that situation.
How long, okay, so is it 1 year that they're allowed to be out of field? And that's a state?
Tammy, you want to clarify just to make sure we're giving accurate information?
Yes, absolutely. They can be out of field as long as they continue to take coursework every year.
So it could be 10 years?
Yep, as long as they continue to take coursework every year and provide us that documentation. But it is a state board rule that if they do not fulfill their out of field requirements, that they can no longer be out of field again.
So once, let's say that they're doing it for 3 years, they've taken 3 years worth of courses, they stop taking courses, which means that period ends, they'd have to go back in field that following year? and then they cannot go back out of field again.
If they did not complete their out-of-field requirements.
Okay.
But the intention is that they take the test or take enough coursework so they can get that added to their teaching certificate, so they would have that subject area on their teaching certificate, so they would no longer be out of field.
Understood. Okay, so I will motion to approve 7.02.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Arguello, second by Mr. Thacker. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 7-5-0. 7.03, that was also Mr. Arguello.
Yes, so Tammy, Dr. Pace, so is it the same, are the rules the same district with the charter schools?
They are to some degree. Not all charter schools put their request on our board agenda because their board may approve it, but if their governing board does not, then we bring it to you to approve.
But they're offered this, we don't have any district guidances or district rules or district policy that separates the process for the charter schools, then
It's the same process.
it's the same exact process, same exact, okay. Yeah, motion to approve 7.03.
Motion by Mr. Arguello, second by Mr. Thacker. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Motion passes, thank you. 11.03, Mr. Melendez.
Okay.
8.03.
Why do I keep skipping 8.03?
Okay, this is the SAM agreement. Number one, I do appreciate, staff's attempt to show the empirical data before renewing something, and it showed that the statistics have gone for instructional time or the refocus of 51%. But one of my issues is, that the end goal really isn't increasing a leader's instructional time focus. That's like a vector to get to the final result. Like, so what does that do? So like if a principal or leader of a school has more time for instructional things, I'm hoping two things can happen out of that. Number one is maybe that we increase teacher retention, or reduce quitting because they feel like they're getting supported. So the data can be tracked on something like that. Or the number two thing is that if teachers are getting better supported by their leadership team, that maybe they're learning their strategies and are increasing grades. So my issue isn't the use of SAM, and I like the fact that we try to capture data. I'm just trying to give you guys what's in my head, because what's in my head isn't always very clear. So my end goal is tracking the end results. So we're tracking instructional time, which is what it's doing, the time tracker, but the increase in instructional time should result in either better grades or less retention, or increased recruitment and retention of teachers. Not recruitment, increased retention, because they should feel happier. And I know recently we've had a lot of teachers resign. So, but my issue that I have with this contract isn't that part. There's item number 2. I'm looking at my phone here, 2.5, where, and I think it says here, 2.6 actually, the school district agrees to prohibit the use, and it's 2.6 is better. It prohibits the use of SAM process data to evaluate school or district leaders. It recognizes SAM. I'm like, wait a second, I want to use the software to evaluate my leaders, because that's the whole idea. I'm trying to get into that whole using empirical data to do evaluation. So I'm not opposed to SAM and getting the results. I'm opposed to a contract telling me that we're not allowed to use the results from SAM to hold, our leadership accountable or to evaluate their performance. So I don't know, Frank, I guess this is a legal question. Do they have to have this in their contract? I don't want to sign a contract that says I'm not allowed to process SAM data to evaluate our school leaders. That's the whole purpose of getting software, is to evaluate our performance. So I just don't want the staff to misinterpret me. I think that's doing a good job, and I see the numbers, and you guys gave it to me. I have a problem with the contract language, which has nothing to do with staff.
Madam Chair, with your permission, I'd like to invite Christy Gray up. She is leading our development work in this area, and she has some additional information to share. She was our first SAM principal, and now she's supporting the development of other principals and future principals.
Give them a second to gather their thoughts.
It's not on that one. It's on the internet. Yeah, it's after the contract was done. It's the second part. It's 2.6. That says it agrees to prohibit the use of data to evaluate school leaders. Yeah. And the district agrees to prohibit the use of the data to evaluate school leaders. And I want to use the data to evaluate school leaders. So that's the reason why we're getting the software, is I think it's effective. I'm actually agreeing with the software, just to let you know. I just want to be able to make sure we're not contractually shooting ourselves, because the whole reason why we're tracking the data is to do better, and I want to use that data to evaluate our leaders, to know which leaders are doing good and which one is doing effective. And so it's a legal technical thing.
So that's a deal breaker for the SAM program. The intent of SAM is a very personal, individualized, so they have a coach that works with them, that works within that data, and it's not intended to ever penalize someone who's using the program. So the founder, Mark, does not ever want that data to be used in that way. So that is in all of his contracts across the board. He puts in there specifically that it is not used to evaluate leaders. Now, what the plan is to use it, like when we're sitting in principals meetings and we say, okay, pull up your SAMS data, just like a SAMS meeting. So if you were my SAM and you were sitting down with me, every day I'm held accountable because you say, did you do it? And if you didn't do it, what did you do instead? And what you need to circle back around and do this. And then they pull up the graphs and they hold me accountable for what I said I was going to do and what my graph is showing. So it's me and my partnership of my SAM, but it's never intended to be where I look in on it and say, you know, you are not doing what you're supposed to do based on that data.
However, that doesn't keep our assistant superintendents
Absolutely.
from
He
reflecting
has
on this information
Yes.
with our principals, with our SAMs, and using that information to guide their development and their work. And then ultimately, as you said, Mr. Melendez, it does come back to improving teacher retention and improving student outcomes.
And I have my assistant principal's here, and he's now a principal, and I used it with him. And I used it as a leader to help him guide, and if you'd like to speak to him, he can kind of talk about the work that was done.
And here's the issue, though. It's not the program itself, because I actually agree. So I don't need to hear it, because I agree that SAM can be used.
Sure.
But when the contract language, and I'm being super technical, and I apologize.
Absolutely.
Just
No, my
have to
husband's an
read the
engineer. I
language
get
what it
you.
Because it doesn't say to punish, it says to evaluate. And to do what you just said is technically in violation of the contract. So I'm not
I see
saying
what
to
you're
use
saying.
it to punish, I'm just saying to evaluate, because I want to evaluate the performance based on
Got
the
it.
standards that they met. So what you just told me, we just violated the contract terms.
I got it, so got
So
it.
that's exactly, so I love SAM, I want to use SAM.
Yeah.
I just want to use it just same exact way that you want. Again, so this really has nothing to do with staff.
So maybe just
I want
verbiage.
to avoid it, I just want to be able to change that contract language. If Sam says what we're doing isn't right, then we probably need to find Sam's competition and find somebody that will allow us to use it as an evaluative tool, as an instrument, without us, you know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily to punish, it's just, the whole idea of evaluating is to say, are we doing good, are we not doing good?
Sure.
The way we're using it. I want to use it the way we're using it with a clean conscience of not being in violation of contract terms and conditions.
That makes total sense.
Mr. Arboya. Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Yeah, I agree with the statements being made by my fellow board member here. Everything should be used to evaluate, right? As a public entity, at this district, it has a culture where you avoid kind of evaluation and education in general, right? It's just the common culture. Nope, I'm not saying anything bad about it, but it is like, you can't go to the private sector and then work and then expect that they're gonna create a tool which is gonna make you better, but never use that to evaluate you, or to keep a hands-off approach in terms of evaluation, right? But when you're in this setting, we have like this, you can't use this to punish, like an evaluation is not a punishment. It's just an evaluation, right? And when people see an evaluation as a punishment, then it creates a negative kind of connotation to just being reviewed for effectiveness.
Absolutely.
Right? And in the
I
end,
totally agree.
everyone here wants everyone to perform at the best level.
Absolutely.
But if we don't do that here at the very top, which is funny, we're talking about evaluations, but if we don't do that for ourselves, I mean, in the end, we're grading students. They're being evaluated on a daily basis. Why would we have the credibility, or how can we have the credibility to give a student A or a C or an F, but we're afraid to give ourselves grade? So, I mean, I get it. you're not arguing with what we're saying or with anybody saying, right? And no one has yet. It's just a matter of these people, they don't think that principals will like it. I imagine this is a marketing issue. They won't like it. Principals won't like it if it's being used to grade them. Then the company means that they lose money because people won't like their program and they won't use it, and it creates this vicious cycle. And I mean, but I absolutely agree. I think that that's a tremendous approach, which is go find the competitor and say, listen, we're looking for something that helps us be our best. And if this does, I mean, it'd be like saying, okay, we don't care what you use. We're just going to go based on what your school grade is, right? But that's less fair than using this, right?
Sure.
Because this would show growth,
Sure.
right? This would have a lot more nuance than just saying your school's a C, you're going to get a C,
Sure.
right? I mean, I agree. I'm all about, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being told that you didn't do a great job or that you got a C, right? It's just, study harder.
Sure.
Right? I mean, that should be our whole thing. I know it's not here, but.
And that is the goal of SAMS, is daily improvement, because it tracks everything. I mean, I can look back in 2017, October 3rd at 3 o'clock, I can tell you what I did at that time. Because
Unless you
it
tell
tracks
me,
all that.
I guess, I hate to put you on the record like that, you tell me, hey, I approve this because I do like the software. We're just gonna violate that term and let them punish us if they want to, because at the end of the day, I want this to be an evaluative tool, an instrument to do what you do. So that's the conundrum that I'm in. Like, technically, I wanna vote no and say, hey, let's look for the competition so we can do this completely without having to worry about violating any terms. So that's the conundrum I'm in. Unless you tell me, hey, vote for it because we like it, but just keep using it the way we want to use it, and who cares if it violates the terms?
Or we could go back to and discuss with the vendor. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
really
not,
where we're at.
I'm actually in agreement with Mr. Arguello. I'm not sure that the solution is to, because clearly, A, it's working, at least based on what the intent of the software is, which is not as an evaluation tool, but as a tool to assist in making decisions about how time is being spent. And B, we are clearly using the data anyway in order to improve performance. So the solution seems to be not to just say we're not going to use this and find the competitor. Who is the competitor even? I think the solution is to have a discussion with the vendor about that specific clause.
If I may,
Yes.
the difference here is between coaching and evaluation. And those are two different approaches
Right.
to our work.
It's a coaching tool.
Exactly. The coaching tool is about helping people get better with their work, and this is about coaching people to get better with how they're using their time.
Yeah.
And then we evaluate at the end of the day, did they use their time wisely? Did their school student achievement improve? Did their teacher retention improve? We look at those other outcomes, Mr. Melendez, that you were talking about. So that's the difference here, is that they believe in us using the SAM data and the SAM process for the coaching and improvement and professional development, because that's what it says. SCOC agrees to prohibit the use of the SAM process data to evaluate a school or district leader and recognizes that SAM is a professional development process. That's its process, but the impact of that is where we evaluate.
Right. And I have no problem with doing that. I just can read that sentence. If I was being the company, I'm gonna go, you're violating our terms of agreement. And as long as we're doing it that way, you can use it as an evaluative process. And then when we renew this contract again in the future, I wanna know the companies, the schools that use this program, what are their results compared to the ones that didn't use it?
That's one of the, we actually have already spoken to research evaluation to set up that long-term, because to evaluate the program and how it's working.
Now, are all schools in the district getting this, or
Yes.
only certain amounts?
With
Yes.
this contract, they would. We have been taking schools on a voluntary basis and identifying principals who wanted to do it. But it's very expensive because the training is in Arizona, it's over a 4-day period. This would allow us to do it system-wide and bring the training and the coaching to us.
And we can bring assistant principals on board as well, which is ultimately what I would like to do, is to bring in our young leaders and grow them through the process. And then when they become principals, it's already imprinted how I track my time and using that instructional time and being a good steward and setting up systems and processes for the school so that I can focus on what's important in front of me.
Is there a way then, in the future, long-term, to break up the contract to where you just have the time tracking software and the coaching separate? Because if once we learn the new strategies, can we be a trainer of ourselves? Can we have somebody in professional development be able to be the coach in the future? and just pay for the software license separately?
That's really what we're paying for. The reduction is a once-a-month coach, which is just part of the program. They check in once a month, and then the software. That's why the price is very reduced. And then he'll come out, Mark will come out once and do the training for us. But then I'm sort of the support in the district for that. So that is part of the reduction, is it doesn't include the conference, it doesn't include the travel to the trainings. We're bringing it in-house.
Mr. Arguello, you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I just want to disagree fundamentally with the superintendent's statement, coaching versus evaluation. I've coached for 10 years. I've been coached for 10 years. My most memorable experience being coached was being made to run around a field for, 15 minutes because I got late to a practice. I'll never forget it. So here's the thing, your improvement sometimes comes through different methods. You can't view everything as negative just because it doesn't feel good. That's the problem with our results academically, I think, when it's okay to feel uncomfortable for the sake of improvement. That's what being a servant leader is all about, is that you take the burden and then you do something that doesn't feel good necessarily for yourself. And so coaching versus evaluation, coaching is far more critical than an evaluation would be. An evaluation is just telling you no good or great or really terrible. Coaching would be, this is the next step, right? This is not so great. This is what you do. This is your path to improvement, right? Don't be late again. So, that's a whole different thing. I think that's fundamentally contrary to the definition and intention of coaching. It's to improve you. And to say that it's contrary. I do understand, however, that your concern is not really one with the district, it's really one with the contract language, which is with the vendor, which means that we should not approve this so that we have actually bargaining position to go back and say, listen, we want to use this as an evaluation. How can we make you feel good about it being used as a tool, meaning that we don't want to punish why would we punish anyone? That's not the point. We're coaching. So if you really want to get into the knee deep into coaching, then.
And it's the contract we're currently using. And so it's what we're currently doing. So it wouldn't be changing. The only difference would be the scope is now district-wide. So nothing would be changing from the way we're doing it now, and we haven't violated it thus far. So it's the same contract that we've been using for the last 4 years. So it is intended to grow. I mean, it holds you very accountable. I'll tell you, I have a love-hate, because sometimes I look at my calendar and I think, I can do better, But sometimes after 3 crazy weeks, I look back and I say, wow, I really did have impact, and it's very powerful.
Well, self-awareness is probably the most valuable thing you can.
It is, and it's like a lesson plan. Teachers have lesson plans. That's our lesson plan as an administrator. This is what I plan to do. Sometimes you don't do it, but I can track and see it. So I think his point is he just doesn't ever want it to be punitive, and to make sure that it's not punitive in any way.
And I agree that's a danger, because you turn all the principals off of it, nobody will like it, and then he doesn't make money, we're not making the use of a tool, it's bad for everyone.
Yeah.
Right, I completely get it.
I'm okay with approving this as is because we have been using it so far. I wonder, Mr. Kroppenbacher?
Yes, ma'am.
If we are able to go back to the vendor and ask if there is an amendment that can be made to that specific portion of the contract language so that folks feel more comfortable with the fact that we're using it as it's intended. But it sounds like the issue is just making sure the contract language matches what we're currently doing. Do we have an agreement on that? Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve 8.03 if everybody else agrees with it.
Thank you.
One point of discussion, Madam Chair.
Mr.
But
Arguello?
second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Mr. Arguello, discussion.
When we talk about processes, right, you've mentioned it yourself many times about processes. It's a terrible process to approve contracts in advance of a conversation where you're looking for an amendment from a legal standpoint. You should.
There's no material issue
excuse
with
me,
the
may
contract,
I?
in my opinion.
Okay, but may I finish? That's your opinion. It may be material to the other person, to the other party. Therefore, you make your agreements in advance of signing an agreement. You don't make an agreement, let's say, okay, fine, we're going to approve it, and then hope that they're gonna do it. That creates bad blood and it's bad faith.
So
It's just bad
I
progress.
one second, I think I was clear with my intention. If you do not agree, that is the reason we have individual votes, and you may vote it down as well, and I would be held to whatever the board says.
Right, that was from a legal standpoint, that's not a good process. That's what I was referring to.
That's why I asked you for it. Yes?
Members of the board, my understanding is, and I will get with you, is to tweak the language to reflect what we're doing, so there's no confusion. If I don't think we can get an agreement on that, I'm going to not let it be signed, I'm going to bring it back to the board. That's great.
Maybe he can just say continue as currently
As currently being.
As
done.
currently being
Whatever it is
utilized.
that satisfies the,
So you and I talk tomorrow. we can-
Absolutely.
I just need to include Mr. Melendez in the conversation as well, since we brought the issue. So, are we clear on what it is that we have on the floor? Yes?
Yes.
So, I have a motion and a second. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, like sign? Sounds like it's passing 5-0. Thank you very much. 11.03, Mr. Melendez, yes?
Yes. This is, it's just like a curiosity thing. I saw, the computers, there's a bunch of them from Liberty High School. Like, they're dumping like 20 of them. So I'm like, are they getting new computers to replace it? Because, it's like, and they're not getting rid of one or two. There's like 20 individual items on there. So I just wanted to know, like, do they have something to replace it with?
Those computers were sitting in an area that were surplus, and they've just been sitting there for a long time. So we finally got a team out there to deal with them. They were very old gateway computers that were over 10 years old.
Get a gateway.
It was time for them to go.
Okay, so it's not like we're rotating all at once. They just happen to be kind of storing it, and everyone's in the process to finally get rid of it. Okay, I was just concerning, I'm like, why is there so many computers leaving one school? It's like, okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Melendez. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, like sign? Motion passes. Thank you. 11.15, that is Mr. Arguello.
Yeah, so Sarah, this is it. This is the final last, right, just for the record's sake, this monthly report is for the year ending, right?
No, this is for July,
Just for July?
for the first month of the new fiscal year.
Okay, I'm sorry. So it seems like we're very delayed in some of these, right? I mean, right, that's several months.
Well, yeah, at year end, we focus on closing out the prior year end, getting our annual financial report done, getting our new budget done, and then we move into the audit. So yeah, typically July is slightly delayed because we're focused on still closing out the previous year. So we do have a schedule. I'd be happy to share with you the schedule.
Yeah, please.
For the year of when we plan on closing out the months and then bringing them forward before the board.
Okay, and was the closeout for June, was that sent? And maybe having like a momentary.
Everything that came to you at the first board meeting in September was the closeout for the previous fiscal year.
All right. So,
And then we didn't have a board meeting, the second
Yeah.
meeting in September, and so now we're back on schedule to start bringing them to you on a monthly basis.
okay. So, do we get caught up at some point?
What do you mean by caught up? I mean, it's always going to be after the fact.
Of course, but, I mean, in my opinion, from July to August, that's too long. I mean, I don't know if maybe that's, everybody's
I
fine with
can tell
that.
you we're in the process this week of trying to finalize August.
Okay, all right, motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Arguello. Wait, your second? Second by
Yeah, she said she
Mr.
was-
Thacker. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. 14.
I had
12. I'm checking these off ahead of time. That's why I keep missing them, by the way. 12.01. That's awesome, Mr. Arguello.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the approval of technology, the price list. I didn't see on here in my review the price of replacement.
So at the very bottom of the document, for replacement of devices, that's based on a proration, age, and type of device. So that would be a determination that would be made after the fact.
And what would be considered normal wear and tear or accidental or fault by someone? How do you guys, let's say somebody breaks it, it's not my fault, somebody else tripped over my bag, whatever it is, what's the process for that, the resolution of that?
So we have two buckets there. You know, there's willful damage, where there would involve discipline of some sort,
Right.
Which the school would deal with. And then there's just accidental damage. So last year, we had an accidental damage policy that cost quite a bit of money, which you guys approved on the one-to-one readiness plan. But we did not approach anywhere near the cost of that in repairs. So we let that go for this year, which is why we're bringing this forward. So in the past, we've practiced grace and compassion with the parents and the staff, unless it was willful. But if it was accidental damage, either warranty took care of it, or we used our accidental damage insurance. So that's kind of how we determined that in the past.
But what about the resolution mechanism when there's a dispute, right? Let's say through no fault of your own it breaks. So Julius trips over my bag and he breaks my computer, so
frankly, we've not run into that issue. Last year, for example, I have some numbers. We had 892 damaged laptops, which averaged about $403,000 to repair. So we had funding to take care of that. iPads, we had 404 damaged, and that was about $162,000. So again, warranty took care of that because we also have the Apple Care for the iPad. So it's not really been an issue that we've encountered, frankly.
but we haven't been charging the parents.
No, we haven't.
So now that we charge the parents, I guarantee you, we're gonna run into that issue, right?
It's a possibility.
And then each one of us is gonna get, well, at least I know I'm gonna get 100 calls saying, little Johnny didn't break his computer, it was little Julius who did it. And then, why am I gonna pay for it? And then what happens when they choose not to pay for it, when they refuse? So.
Sure, then we'll deal with that on a one-off basis. So as well.
That's actually a good, he brings up some good points there.
Could I make a recommendation? And when they sign for the equipment.
They do already.
We really should, if we don't have it, I'd like to get it. We should itemize, here is what you're accountable for.
We do.
Meaning, so that these type issues, we can at least point to a document and it's black and white clear.
Is it the parent that signs or the student?
Yes, the parent signs it.
The
We have
parent
two
signs.
forms we have a checkoff form
Yeah.
that lists all the equipment that they take, whether it's the charger, the device, the hotspot, et cetera. So they have that, and then there's the parent permission form. Now, we have had some parents not want to do that, so those children don't take those devices home right now. They stay in the classroom.
Hey, can you send those?
So,
I have a quick question, just for clarifying. I don't mean to go, but is this a price list for parents, or is this a price list that we pay vendors for replacing certain?
It would be, so we want to be consistent across all our schools. So we have had schools in the past publish their own price lists. We had to intervene and say, no, we're not doing that, we're still practicing compassion and grace. So, but starting the second quarter of this year, we wanted to now institute this so that it's consistent across the district.
I mean, I wonder if to me, the insurance route is better. To me, that's great business sense, right? We didn't reach what we were paying in premiums, why have it, do this, and then you come to a better place, right? But we may not be in that business, which I completely respect. We may not be foreseeing the actual community aspect where, number one, we're dealing with maybe potential people with low income, right? We're dealing with a fault issue because they're gonna say, well, it's not my fault. I don't care what I signed. You're not gonna make me pay for this, and you still have to provide my student with that, blah, 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 So what I don't like is being put in a space, being put in a corner from a legal perspective, where we can't enforce, right? We can't punish, there's nothing that you can do. So they can basically, if you get somebody with an attitude like mine, you're gonna be like, go ahead, what are you gonna do?
If it's willful,
We'll sue you.
If it's willful, there's discipline involved. I will tell you,
Yes.
just some more information. Our claims experience for last year, we don't really have a whole lot for this year yet, and frankly, it's been very low, but only 1.54% of our laptops were damaged last year. a very.
To the tune of 300 grand.
That is true. 403,000.
Yeah, so.
3,000. But that was way, way below the cost of our insurance.
And as they get older, the equipment gets older, students are gonna care less, right?
I don't know that that's true or not, so we'll see.
I mean, my 5 kids, certainly, if a brand new iPhone, they treat it like if it's, you know, the baby, and then after a couple years, when they want the new iPhone, they're like, you know.
We're hoping to get about 5 years of life out of our devices.
Or how about this? In other words, let me look at it from a different perspective. So you're saying there was $403,000 of damages last year?
403.
How much was our premium that we paid for insurance?
Over $1 million.
That's crazy.
Oh, we paid $1 million, not the coverage, the actual, holy moly. So we're losing $600,000, what you're saying. Okay, so I gotta look at it in financial terms. Okay, so basically, okay, so that makes it.
But it was
I understand
our
why
first
you're doing what
year.
you're doing.
It was our first year, so we had to be careful about it, which is why we put it in the plan originally.
I agree.
But it would be cheaper to replace the devices, you know, gratuitous for every circumstance and still pay less. You know?
Correct, so that's kind of where I'm.
This is a learning experience for us.
Yeah, and I can't fault the decision-making process that you've made either. But I know that parents are gonna call me and be like, why am I paying for this when it's his friend who broke the computer? Or, you know, I'm not gonna pay for this now, so what are you gonna do?
I've been very, very proud of our students. I mean, they've really treated those devices really well. These last 2 years, they've done a great job. So, and we've had very few willful damage incidents.
Yeah, I don't think that that's gonna be the issue so much as just the accidental stuff. But I understand there has to be a carrot and otherwise, so, I mean, I can't fault it, I just wanted to ask the question.
Sure.
Because the process itself, there are gaps, right? I think the most common thing is gonna be parents saying, I shouldn't be responsible for this. And
I will send you the borrower's forms.
Okay.
So I like the idea of just approving this and capturing 1 year of data. Because rather than just projecting what may happen, just kind of let it happen. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the year, if we need to adjust it, I think that'd be the appropriate time.
That's our plan going forward.
But I do appreciate the fact that you did make a financial analysis, and at least we're gonna save money as a district overall. And whether or not we subsidize the thing, or the breakage, or the parent has to pay, I'll let you, I have faith in you, Mr. Thorne, so I'll let you guys make that decision, and then at the end of the year. But I do wanna have a follow-up though, Dr. Pace, though, at the end of the year, give us a report on how it worked out, so when we do adjust next year, we're doing it based on having data in front of us.
Absolutely.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Mr. Arkley, and for all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. We have 2 items under information pools, both by Mr. Melendez. We'll start with 14.01.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. 1401, when I looked at the agenda item, it has the summary of the language, but it doesn't actually have the language itself. Are we gonna get a draft of the language itself?
Mr. Boyd?
Yes, sir. The board review process is just a list that you receive of rules that are being brought to you for the workshop, where you will get a full draft of the changes, and we're working on those currently, and every day we're receiving new things from the state, and also gives Mr. Kroppenbacher to look at things too if they need to be reviewed. But we'll get you the full draft for the next board workshop that's upcoming, and then the public hearings in December on the 13th, where we would ask for you to vote on it. So you have a long time to review them.
This is basically to provide the topics that are coming forward under this rulemaking cycle, and then also if the board has any input on terms of things, other things you'd like for us to look at during this process, during this cycle, you can bring those up.
Okay, so we get like advance notice that something's coming down the pipe.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
That's it. Motion approved. Oh, just notes and information item.
Thank you. 14.03.
Thank you.
Yeah, the other one was the operational audit, Dr. Pace. I would like to kind of get your summary on that, because there were 3 bullet point items that were discussed. Now, one of them was school safety, like the SROs on campus, having some form of sign-in sheet or some kind of documentation. Do we have sign-in sheets at all the schools, and they just weren't filling it out before?
There was one school that didn't have it properly completed for the time period that the auditors reviewed it, and we have since corrected that process, and Mr. Yates and Mr. Gould are monitoring those on a monthly basis and letting the assistant superintendents know if those have not been completed. There was never any indication that an officer wasn't on campus all the time the way they were supposed to be.
Yeah, and then the other item is, because I know that's the whole jurisdictional issue, because technically the SRO belongs to the law enforcement agency, not us. But I guess we having it now in contract language then maybe to say, 'cause I think they have to have like mental health training or some other components to that. Or do we have, when we propose the next one, are we gonna modify our contract language to sit there and say, please submit it? And I know technically they can say no, but we got the Auditor General telling us this is what they want, you know what I mean? And so, you know what I mean? It's just a quagmire because technically they're not our employees, but at least when we draft our contract language.
There will be no justifiable reason not to agree that a deputy will sign in, so everybody knows they're there. That protects the agency and it protects us.
Right.
And that is already actually in the contract. In addition, though, they are now providing us with the youth mental health first aid training. Most of that training, our own district team had been providing for them, but we didn't have them in our professional development system. So we've implemented a procedure so that we're able to track and make sure that those officers have completed that as well.
Yeah, because I said that during the SRO task force, that was one of our recommendations. I wanted them to have the ability to sign up for our training. And then what was the last item on there? Because I remember they mentioned 3 things.
Self-insurance claims payments.
Are you talking about specifically the SRO
Yes,
issue?
yeah, no, all the audit findings, just kind of going over the audit.
The third one was regarding self-insurance and a testing process for that, and we have put that in place with our new EVMS contract.
Yes. Now, and when we do that, because I know there's the SO, that's kind of like self-reporting, where the person that processes the claims. I want to go beyond self-reporting, kind of like what we mentioned during our healthcare workshop. Can we, like, once a year, just do a random sample audit? We don't have to do like a huge audit that costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know what I mean? But just, you know, every quarter, we pull out like a maximum of 10 random claims and make sure that it's doing good and it gives us that self-insurance. I mean,
And that is something
self-assurance.
that we're working with RSM to implement.
Okay, and they're willing to do something like that at a reduced price though, right? Because I don't want a full audit, right? I just want random samples, right? All right, then, I guess that's the end of my discussion.
Thank you. Moving into regular agenda, I don't have anything pulled on there, so I
Yeah,
entertain a
discussion.
motion.
There was a discussion.
1 second, you have 19.02 on the discussion, we're at 15.01. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 15.01.
I'll make a motion. Approve 16.01.
15.
15, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Orally.
Second with discussion?
I have a motion, well, I already had a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Bass, with discussion by Mr. Melendez. Mr. Melendez, the floor is yours.
Now, this behavioral health, we're not intertwining it with the diversion program? Or like when people have substance abuse, like, remember we talked about instead of expelling a student right away? Is this tied into that component at all? Like when a student gets in trouble, we find out what's going on with them?
I apologize, I was looking at that next
Or?
item.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Under Deputy Superintendent, Mr.
Yeah, National Council on Behavioral Health, because I know we were working with Park Place, I believe, to do with the substance abuse. Is this like a part of that, or is just something totally separate?
You know, one of the changes in statute this past year was that we have 80% of our staff trained in youth mental health first aid, but we have a very limited number of trainers. And I read this, and Mr. Phelps, correct me if I'm wrong, this is to develop a larger cadre of in-house trainers so that we can mobilize and meet that state requirement of 80%. Because it's a lengthy time period, it has to be 6 hours, it has to be face-to-face, there's no virtual option, and we want to make sure that we're able to comply with that state requirement. So this is allowing us to build capacity in-house, to expand our cadre of people who can provide the training across the district.
Okay. So this is just across the board, not just when people get in
This is
trouble?
totally unrelated to substance abuse.
Okay. That's the end of my discussion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Motion and second, board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Motion passes, thank you. Moving to item 16.01.
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Mr. Thacker, board, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I don't have anything pulled under the 17.
Motion to approve 17.03.
Live 360.
Second.
23 minutes ago. Live 360.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Melendez to approve 17.03. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. 4 with 1. No vote?
So I just want to comment real quick.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge the fact that our pharmacist is in the room, and I appreciate the fact that he came to a workshop, and the reason why and I usually have a million questions on renewing contracts, and the fact is he came out here and answered every single one of them, and it's a pretty innovative product too, so it's not normal the way we're doing it, and I like that, the fact that we're willing to think outside of the box, and I appreciate you working with us and helping stand up the facility. Is there any update real quick on where the pharmacy is? Is it ready to get built out, or how much longer? You mind if I ask that, Madam Chair? This is easier.
I wonder if that might be better done in another section, like board comments perhaps? It's fine.
I'll just be 2 seconds. Yeah, 2 seconds. We just did software install today. The construction's complete, and we're looking to call for a permit inspection from the Department of Health. So our go live is still a question, but we're looking probably, hopefully next 30 days. We'll have an inspection before that, and then I'll have a licensing and be open as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you, sir.
You really do demonstrate that you bend over backwards for the district, and I appreciate you. Obviously, I may be a contrarian, but obviously you do a great job. You work very hard. It's very obvious, and I appreciate your efforts.
It's my pleasure, to be honest with you guys. Like, I love doing this.
He's
Thank you.
busy this week doing flu shots if you want to stop by.
Thank you.
Motion to approve 18.07.
Have a motion, okay? Motion.
Second.
By Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Melendez to approve item 18.07. Board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you. And we do have, I'm going to take these one by one because we have one item pulled here, so I will entertain a motion to approve 19.01. We pulled 19.01.
We pulled that one.
Yes, we did. Thank you. We have a discussion on 19.02.
Mr. Blair?
Yeah. Let's get to it here. Yeah, so I just want to make a quick comment on this. This is good work. And before I get into my question on the actual contract, but essentially this is the result of the citizens speaking out on an issue of safety for their children. And this is a purely community-led thing. This was not something that its genesis was not in the school district. This was purely parents very concerned with their children's safety. They came out, they spoke, and they made it very clear that this was necessary. And so that creates results. And I just want to encourage any parents, if you have a safety issue, don't be pushed away, don't be ignored. Make sure that you're loud and clear, because you can have some victories like that here in an environment where it's very resistant to outside input. Regarding the contract, it states in the second paragraph of the agenda item, the parties agree that the city will not charge the school board for the vehicle usage. However, if you go to the contract where it has the fee broken out in section 4, it says $5 times 8 hours for $40 per day for police vehicle. So are we being charged for the vehicle or not? This is two contrary statements. And I mean, other than that, I have no objection. But if it says that we're not going to pay for the police car, we're being billed for the police car in the contract.
I was going to go to the same exact thing. And first of all, I want to acknowledge the county, because the fact is, this is in the city of St. Cloud. I don't think the county has any obligation to pay us half the fee.
It's the county, yeah.
Is it in the county or is it in the city?
It's the county. It's the city. It's actually, I think, on the border of the county and the city. And this is the city that's providing the police, and it's the county that's paying for it.
The city
They're paying for half.
The city also provides the SRO at Cooney Creek K-8 because the school itself is located in the city limits.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because they can't send, because that's conflicting too.
But it's a
because-
county road.
Okay, the road belongs to the county, but the school physically is in the school.
And it's the county who's installing a permanent light.
Oh,
And
it's
at the
supposed
end
to.
of this week, they're gonna have a temporary light installed. It was supposed to go live last week, but it was delayed because of the hurricane.
Right, because where I'm going with that is, well, I still appreciate the county anyway for contributing for the fee to a certain degree. But then I'm like, kind of what Mr. Aguero was saying, well, I want the city to do something as well. I want to not be charged that extra fee. Because the other thing too is, it looks like we're only using 1 hour a day, or 2 hours a day, 1 hour in the beginning, 1 hour at the end. Or we're getting billed for 4 hours each rotation. So we're getting billed for a full 8 hours, and the cop is only there for 2 hours. You know, I know that might be a union type thing, but, because the minute you call him out, you have to pay him for a 4-hour minimum. I'm thinking, can we utilize him doing something else, like after he's done in that 1 year?
I would keep
Can
him,
he-
that's a great idea.
Can we teach kids how to like stay from bullying? Can we like, post them at another school in St. Cloud where there's a lot of traffic and pull kids running
great
over?
idea.
I mean, we're already paying them for a full 8 hours and we're only obligated in this contract for 2. So I'm like,
God bless you.
I want to maximize my money. You know, if we're paying for the cop for 4 hours, I want to use him for 4 hours. Or at least use him for 3. You know what I mean? Maybe give him 1 hour pause. I like cops, I'll be nice to them, you know what I mean? But I don't want to give him 3, I don't want to pay him 3 hours extra. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to pay him for 4 hours when he's only working a 1 hour shift. And especially I got the county helping us pay for that, which I appreciate. The city can do their part too and kind of reduce the fee on us. Again, it's only dollars here, but every dollar is a dollar I can save. You know what I mean? So I'm like, every dollar we can save.
Well, the
or at least
minimum is
get
8
around.
hours. You can't charge any less. The minimum is 8 hours that we can pay.
Well, it's 4 hours per shift. When you pay, because
Right, there's
I
two.
did that when we do expulsion hearings, we got to pay them for 4 hours no matter how, as a minimum. So what I'm saying is, if we have to pay them for 4 hour minimum, to your point, let's
just have them all
use
day.
the cop for something else.
That's a great idea.
This was dealt with by Randy, who's retired. Can we pull it and we'll bring it back and I'll call the chief and talk?
I do need to review the car fee. I did not catch that. I appreciate you guys bringing that to our attention. I know that Mr. Kuppenbacher had worked with Mr. Shatera on this particular contract, and as Mr. Shatera is not here, so I will need to review
Yeah,
that.
and if there's no car fee, can you try to negotiate to get rid of the 7% fee? Because according to the summary, it says they're not giving us car fee, they're charging 7%, but they're getting 3 free hours of bill payments, you know what I mean? Don't get us 3 free hours of bill payments.
Either
and
Dr.
7%.
Payson or I were involved in negotiating the business terms, but we will be involved.
Do we need a motion to table this?
Please.
Make a motion to table item 1942.
Second.
To the next meeting.
Move it to the next meeting? Not unless we bring it up again.
I'll change my motion to the next meeting. Table.
Second.
I know, semantics, yet they exist. All right, perfect. We'll go, say what? Motion, approval, yes?
Semantics, remember?
I know, semantics.
And Matt.
Guys, relax, right?
I know, relax. Anyway, 20.01 is public comment, so.
5-0 for that vote to table it.
5 yes. So we'll go ahead and start with Andre Escobar.
Hello. I'm a teacher at Gateway High School. I've taught for 9 years there. And ever since the state has given teachers, done a pay raise, I've seen just kind of I don't know how to say it, but a downward demeanor in teachers that have longer experience there because they're not being valued for their experience as a teacher. I know that there's teachers that the retention is lowering, and a big fact is that we're being paid the same as a new teacher. I mean, even me with 9 years, I have teachers that have 12 and 13 years that have the same pay level as me, and I don't think it's fair. I think that there should be something implemented to, some incentive to keep teachers, to retain them, because that's not happening. And there's a lot of value that we have. I know when I first started teaching, what I've learned from the most were the teachers that had experience, that were in there 10, 15 years, and they taught me how it is to teach and their tricks and all that stuff. So there's value to having, teachers that have experience. And I think right now at Gateway, we have I'm a math teacher at Gateway, and we have one of our best teams at Gateway right now, and it's because most of our teachers have 5 or more years of experience. So I think something that you guys could think about, definitely implementing some incentives for teachers that have, experience.
Thank you, Mr. Escobar.
We didn't get your name and address for the record.
Oh.
If you-
Yeah. My name's Andre Escobar. My address is 571 Tortuga Street in Haines City.
Thank you.
Did all these guys show up?
Thank you.
No, I talked to them.
Mr. David Latour. Mr. Latour, I also actually have something for your students.
We do, ma'am.
I do. They weren't here, so can I give these to you? Thank you. Okay, what's your right hand?
David Latour, 2126 Continental Street, St. Cloud, Florida, 32769. Good evening. It is great to be back here again. First off, I want to thank Dr. Pace for the communications throughout the hurricane. As a teacher and even as a citizen of Osceola, man, they were timely, they were helpful, and allowed me to prepare. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Also, I wanted to bring you guys up to date, bring you all up to date on some of the things that have happened in Air Force Junior ROTC since the last time we met back in September. I'm thankful to report that the Air Force has granted Osceola High School an additional $17,828.73 in uniform allocations federal funds. So with that, we've been able to expend all of those funds, and we have a lot of uniforms coming in, including the new uniform, which is the OCP. So we're getting away from our old ABUs and moving to OCPs. Our regional director told me, here's the money, get these for your seniors. So we went ahead and made the purchase. Now we're just waiting for supply chain. Hopefully they'll come in before they graduate. Yes, it's cool. Another issue we're still working on, but I passed out to you all some information about a way, because I hear constantly this desire to get teachers more money. And I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that there isn't anybody in this room which wouldn't, if they had the opportunity to get more funding for teachers, they would do it. And I want to thank Dr. Pace, Mr. Phelps, Deborah Williams for their insight and helping me uncover a way for more money to get given to a small group of people. Now, I understand, having been in the military for just a little while in some large organizations, that if you're managing a $1.8 billion contract or organization, you cannot know all the things that are going on, especially when it comes down to about 20 teachers that are unique in the fact that we get federal funding on top of contract funding from the state. So I'd like to offer, I've given you some information in 3 minutes. There is no time to digest that or for me to articulate it well. But I'd like to give you the opportunity, my phone number's there, to sit down and go over that. And I think there's a way forward for some funds, additional funding, to come to these teachers to increase their overall salaries at the end of the day, especially the veterans who have put in so many years serving our country and then have decided to come back and invest right here in Osceola County. The other thing I want to bring to your attention, I have a student with me tonight, our group commander, and she's had some trouble with busing. And the lady is so dedicated, she actually pays for Uber. And she Ubers herself here, and she's paid over $50 to get to school because the bus has been late. And I understand transportation, aviation, airlift, I understand transportation. And I'm not throwing stones at anybody, but I was just wondering, is there any way for these dedicated students who are willing to actually pay out of their pocket to make sure they get to class on time? Is there any way that those Uber funds is possible to get refunded if they can show justification? What's that?
If you'll get me her
Yes, ma'am,
individual
I will, because
information on her
the dedication of this young
transportation.
lady, it just inspires me. It really does. And, she works and then she takes money out of there just to make sure she's there in the morning for our flag details and on time to class. One other thing that I want to bring to your attention.
Mr. Porter, time's up.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. No problem.
But if there is something that you want to talk about after, and if
Yes, ma'am.
the lady wants to get it with Dr. Hayes.
Sure. I thank you all so very much, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Berenice Garcia Rodriguez.
All right, great evening. My name is Julius Garcia Rodriguez. I am a senior at Osceola High School, and I'm a proud Cowboy. I have had the honor to be this year's Key Club President, National Beta Up Club Vice President, Keyette Treasurer, member on the School Advisory Committee. And this year, lastly, for my proudest accomplishment, I am the Group Commander for AFJROTC, which I am here to bring great news about. The month of October is one of our most exciting but our yet busiest month, maybe this year. We have to see, looking forward. To start us off this month, our cadets leaders have gotten in contact with our cadets to ensure that they are ready to come back to school, both mentally and physically capable after Hurricane Ian. It was good to come back today to see a great number of our cadets ready to get going. A few things are on agenda. Our first internal competition on the 15th of October, the county PT competition over at Gateway on October 14th, and the weekend after that, we have our third Operation Keep White Screen and Clean of this year. And those of you that don't know what that is, briefly, it is a coalition of groups, teams, clubs, and other programs at Osceola High School that have come together to clean and take care of our campus. To date, we have collected 625 pounds of trash and 38 pounds of recyclable material, and that is a number not including our morning litter patrol that we have twice a week at 5:45 a.m. 30 minutes after that event on Saturday, October 22nd, we have the Congressman Soto Academy interviews hosted at our very own Osceola High School, in which our very own cadets will help run. Something we are also delighted to have is our very own State Representative Kristen Arrington, in joining us at our Operation Keep White Screen and Clean, excited about the participation of the students who are participating in the cleanup with a K, as we are known as the Osceola Cowboys with a K. I'm going to go ahead and briefly talk about more stuff now that I have time about our first ever external drill competition over at Mainland on the 29th of October, where our cadets after school, we take two, which is now 3 times a week after school, to practice for our drill teams. And in preparation, we boosted our practice days, like I said, from 2 days to 3 days, making it a minimum of 9 events every week to ensure that our cadets, who are first-year students, stay engaged and participating in school, which is something that a few of our students, my peers, struggled with, trying to get engaged into school. Another thing is, some of you may know, this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, ensuring that we, help build the awareness for this. We have offered the cadets to wear our spirit shirt. We sent out a t-shirt design, and a lot of cadets and a lot of parents have been invested in that, so it's another thing that I'm proud of. So soon we will be wearing Cowboy Breast Cancer Awareness Spirit.
Go Cowboys, good job.
Good evening. My name is Gregory Emanuel, 2710 Lucas Lake Lane. Oh, yeah, I'm a student.
Okay, in general, if more students are speaking, you do not have to give your address. Just thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, like I said, my name is Gregory Emanuel. I'm a student at Gateway High School. I'm also a representative for our Senior Student Senate at
Be sure
Gateway.
to speak up so we can hear you.
My fault. You want me talking this?
Do you want to take it
Pull the
off
mic
so you
out.
can?
Oh, I could do that? Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna start from the top. Okay.
Gregory, 1 second. Can we start the timer from the top as well, please?
Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Gregory Emanuel. I'm a student at Gateway, and I'm also one of the representatives for our Senior Student Senate program at Gateway. And today I want to give a little insight onto what exactly that is. Okay. Student Senate is a program that's available through all grades at Gateway, and it provides leadership and cultural activities that our students are able to participate in. If you drove or seen by Gateway, you've seen that we're under construction currently. Even now, more than ever, it's important that we don't focus on the appearance of our school, but the people inside of it to boost our morale and positivity. Okay. Student Senate, oh, wait. Student Senate recently worked with multiple clubs and organizations at our school to provide weekly rewards for all teachers and show our appreciation. We also organize in school events such as our upcoming homecoming pep rally, and are currently working with Give the Kids the World to provide critically ill families with Halloween costumes. Student Senate allows us to have a better relationship as students with the staff at our school, but also our community. We're very proud of what we're working on at Gateway, and we're more excited to see what's to come as the school year progresses.
I want to ask you something. Are you doing any type of fundraising, or what kind of revenue do you have to generate? Any revenue for your club? Or
Wait.
I can answer. Okay, so Student Senate is a class at Gateway. I do all 4 periods. We do have some fundraising stuff that we work on. We're doing a Student Senate soiree in the spring. We do a Sadie Hawkins dance, and then the 4th quarter pep rally is a Student Senate event. It's a glow in the dark pep rally, and we kind of celebrate our year, and that brings in our money. And then we take that money and we use it to do activities and bring the cost down for our kids. Gateway High School is one of the more financially hardship of the schools. So we use our money to help senior costs go down for graduation and prom, cap and gown. We use Student Senate money to hold events for senior week. We do the pep rallies, and we try to build our culture at our school the best we can.
You can get my email. Would you send me an email? I'd like to contribute to that.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Liam Stern?
Hello, good afternoon to you all. I would like to start by saying thank you all for the positive comments and the updates given today. I'd like to briefly introduce myself. My name is Liam Stern, and I'm the senior class president of Gateway High School. And with me today, I have my very hardworking senior student senate. And I just wanted to come and say we're very excited to work with you all, and especially you, Mr. Thacker, on improving Gateway as a whole. Lastly, I understand that these past few days, this past week actually has been very difficult. So thank you all of you for your leadership as we navigate through this storm. And lastly, thank you to everybody here who has been able to make time out of their day to come here. And I just want to take a second to say that in the conversations that I've been a part of and overheard at my school, Dr. Pace, your name has stood out a lot. So thank you very much for all you've done for my school.
Nicole Mahit.
We're saving the Panther too, so the Panther's gonna be in your.
The Panthers, yes. My name is Nicole Mihit. I'm a teacher. My address is 1118 Maryland Avenue. So I brought, actually, can my student senate stand up? So, student senate is very important to me. Mr. Long and I, with Dr. Pace, we built this leadership program for all 4 grade levels. So I have a class of each grade level, and there's a requirement, an application process, and an interview that goes in getting into student senate. But once you're in for all 4 years, as long as you maintain everything. The best part about this is we're building our leaders of our community, and we're teaching them how to go out and meet, build connections, and work with community leaders, staff, teachers, everybody. So the only reason I'm up here today is because I am so proud of them that they wanted to be here tonight. So I would love to invite all of you to our school to come check them out, to hang out with them for a day, see what we do, see the culture that they're building. We're working really hard to make sure that everybody knows that we are Gateway and we're proud Panthers.
And I am a Panther, by the way, class of 2000, so very exciting. We'd love to have more students come to give their comments, so thank you so much. Mr. Will Fonseca?
Hello, everyone. Coach Will Fonseca. I'd like to start by saying I'm a Panther as well, 2002. Great job, students. I know it's not easy for adults to stand up here and talk, so I commend you for doing that. It takes a lot of courage, and it's encouraging as an adult sitting there watching it. I'm not sure if I said my address, 1850 Cavalier Court. I wanted to take a minute to say great work to all the school district employees during the hurricane. I had the privilege to stop at the Kissimmee Middle School, Central Elementary, and then St. Cloud High School. And while I was expecting to bump into one person from the district, I actually was surprised that I bumped into several individuals from the district. I didn't get everyone's name, however, I've seen maintenance, cafeteria employees, principals, and teachers. And man, did they have a positive attitude. I was there day one and day two, and it was definitely encouraging. Their energy definitely filled the room. And I wanted to say great work. As a member of Osceola County, it was great to see that they not only helped out, at being there by presence, but they also took leadership when things were being brought in from the community. They stepped out and helped load it, and they did a lot more above and beyond. So great job, district. Thank you.
And finally, Mr. Lear Allen.
Larry Allen, 722 Mabbitt, class of '83, go Cowboys. But I'm really proud of these guys over here. So anyway, so Friday, one of your man, I might have to use my glasses. Hold on. So one of your dedicated employees heard on the news that school would be open Monday. And at the time, water was up to her back deck patio, and she was concerned about the alligators because, after all, this is Florida, right? And crazy things do happen. So she gathered up the courage to venture out of her house to try to check on her elderly parents. She gets as far as a barricade where an officer told her if she left, she would not be allowed back into the neighborhood. She was told instead, hey, go to Osceola.org and or call the community center because they would be a great resource for information. So she puts the car in reverse, she goes home as suggested by the law. She contacted her administrator Friday to keep them informed as to why she might not be able to leave her house. She contacts them Saturday. She contacts them Sunday. Monday afternoon, she checked the maps, on Osceola.org, I think it is, to determine what the flood situation was. When she contacted her administrator on Monday, she learned that her administrator had gotten into her own Jeep to do a wellness check on her. So here's the kicker. Instead of knocking on her door or making a phone call to see if she was in fact okay, the administrator had chosen to email her instead. So they're like passing each other. So the administrator assumed the employee chose not to come to work. So now the administrator wants to know basically if the employee plans to take a sick leave day because they didn't come to work. And that just doesn't seem right to me because from the employee's perspective, they were doing the prudent thing and they were keeping in contact with their administrator. So I have to believe this is just miscommunication. And I have to ask you, what is the system? We all want employees to be team players and think of the students' well-being, and we understand that education is important. We're educators after all. Actually, the students themselves are important to us, but at the same time, what's the procedure so we don't have people going on an adventure, getting themselves in harm's way to do their job, to get to their job? What if employees don't have an off-road vehicle? What if they don't have a tractor? Yeah, I heard about this one too. A tractor they can use to get through, and even if they do have a tractor, is that something we want to put on the roads? And me personally, I'd be upset if random people are driving vehicles around my flooded neighborhood, causing the wake to go further up my lawn and into my house. So with that, thank you for your time. Thank you for treating your dedicated employees with grace and compassion.
Thank you, everybody, for your respectful comments today. We will go ahead and move on to attorneys issues, and I have 21.01 as an item of old. Was that Mr. Melendez?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, this was, the Boys and Girls Club scenario here, and I know, Mr. Bass had mentioned this before, we want to do something to help them, but this is the first time that I see, like, the individual details, because we have, like, agreements with the YMCA to do after-school programs, and we help them out, or sometimes we allow people to use our gym, so sometimes we have a nonprofit organization that wants to use our gym, we may waive the fees and things like that, so they can help us. And then I see this, it's a lease agreement on property that, quite honestly, I didn't even know we had, because I had done an evaluation with Ms. Rhonda Blake a couple months ago about all the properties that we have, because we were talking about doing our real estate, realignment, like what are we gonna do with our facilities and, maintenance department and things like that. And so I understood that we had property or a block, an entire block on 10th Street and Michigan, I believe it is. And this is a little piece of property on the side of that. And I didn't know that we had that. And so from me, it looks like we made a deal to not use the property anymore. So I think that we're moving employees from this facility to somewhere else. So we're housing them somewhere else, which is okay. So we're basically leaving that facility to go. And it's approximately 2 acres of land and 2,300 square feet of a building. And we're only charging $1 a month rent. And with maintenance, the Boys and Girls Club would only use maintenance up to a certain amount. If it exceeds that threshold, we gotta pay for it. And it's a 10-year lease. I was like, yeesh. We're not really in the real estate business, so I don't think that's really appropriate for us to do that. This sounds like a really awesome deal to the recipient, and if that's gonna happen, then we should have let other nonprofits know that that was available. So to me, it's like, again, I was under the interpretation that, hey, we'll let them use our regular school campus, you can do after-school programs there, you can do whatever. I didn't think that we were actually gonna give them a free building to use, and I'd say free because it's $1 a month, it's essentially free. And so, to me, this is like, ouch. Well, first of all, the school district, if we don't need it, we need to sell it. This property, 2,300 square feet in a straight street in downtown with 2-acre lot, you're talking close to $1 million. And if we're not using it anymore, we need to sell it. Or we can even sell it to the city of St. Cloud, and if St. Cloud wants to host that program, that's fine. But this isn't a program that's directly tied to the education mission. And so it's almost like we're extending too much grace to one organization because, again, I know Kelly Trace is here. She has an awesome program that helps kids. It's like a Osceola Reads program, and they help, their mission is to help students, VPK students or early learning to get in there. We could possibly offer her something like this to use. So to me, this is a precedent I definitely don't want to establish, because I know Chairman Thacker, he was a chairman back in the day, he always talked about establishing precedent, and this is something that's unprecedented. Us having property that we're not using anymore for educational purposes, and then allowing the Boys and Girls Club to use it for $1 a month. If we don't need the property, we need to get rid of it. Or if we're going to give it to a nonprofit, we should allow other nonprofits to make a business case and say, hey, I would like to use that deal. I want to have, $1 a month, to do that. And so by us not opening it up and allowing any nonprofit to use it, to me is improper. Us doing it this way is also improper. Now we're leaving money on the table because this is excess property. We don't need it. So obviously if we want to give it to the Boys and Girls Club, we could have sold this property, 2,300 square feet on 2 acres on a state street, can get really close to $1 million. And so we can just, that's money they don't get. Because that's not just us, that's the taxpayer money. And if we sold this property to a private entity to do, like, say, a commercial building on it, then they would actually increase the tax rolls of the city of St. Cloud. So the city of St. Cloud could generate ad valorem taxes. As long as we maintain title to it, we're not paying property taxes. So it's like a double whammy. We didn't get our money for selling it, we're not getting property taxes, and we're supporting one specific nonprofit organization that's not directly aligning to our education mission. So I mean, I want to help the Boys and Girls Club, I want to help a bunch of nonprofits, but to overwhelmingly help them in this way is not the proper way to structure it, and that's not the proper use of our educational facilities. Again, if the Boys and Girls Clubs want our help, I'm more than happy to allow them to use a reduced rate of like a gym of a certain school, or use the gym, the PE fields, or use our cafeteria, but I'm not willing to give them an entire facility for $1 a month and not even have the opportunity for other nonprofits to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Arguello and then Mr. Thacker.
So this is one of those things where everybody knows how this is going to go, right? I think that you hit the nail on the head with the word improper. This is absolutely, positively, unequivocally improper for a public entity to give a handout, even to a nonprofit with its mission, which is excellent. Nothing against this organization. Boys and Girls Club is phenomenal. Nothing against them. But that does not excuse us behaving responsibly here as a servant. We swore an oath, and this would be violating that oath. You can't give away the public property to any institution for free. You can't do it. You're not allowed. It's not only is it not part of our mission, which is another thing I completely agree on, and I'm glad that, thank you for pulling this, because I actually had it in my notes to pull this item for this issue, and I forgot to print out the pages. So it raises the perception of quid pro quo, right? You do something improper for this person, and then they'll do something improper for you. You cannot take, without any input from the community, without providing the opportunity. Hope was here. Why didn't we give it to Hope, right? For a shelter or something. Why didn't we give it to all the hundreds of organizations in our county that are also worthy of this kind of opportunity? Because you're the friend of so-and-so or whatever, for whatever reason. You can't make the stretch. You can't make the business argument. You can't make the public interest argument. This is improper. It's improper to the core. It's the definition of improper use of taxpayer property. And not only is there a business sense in terms of you're making a mistake by taking ad valorem away from ourselves to give this to somebody else, but the liability in this lease is crazy. Basically, they're responsible for paying $1 in rent a month, and then up to $500. And if you look in the list, it talks about everything: waste disposal, pest control, telephone. I can't see how they're going to get that under $500. How are you going to get janitorial services, pest control, waste disposal, telephone, internet, and data usage, and minor maintenance repairs of the facility not to exceed $500 in any single instance? Meaning that their budget monthly to maintain this property is $500. How? You can't do all those things for less than $500. It's impossible. So basically, we're on the hook for we're basically paying for this organization to exist. But no one else had the opportunity to do it. This is a pet project by one school board member. Of course, they're going to approve it. We're going to vote 3-2, apparently. That's what I'm guessing. And we're going to approve this. But this is absolutely improper. If, somebody could perceive, well, if I give you all 5s, then this is what I'm going to push for on your eval. If somebody were to give me what I want, I'm going to give you what you want. So that's why public officials are not supposed to push for pet projects, because there's a quid pro quo. This is absolutely improper to its core. It's a terrible use of taxpayer money. If we do this, I'm going to file an ethics complaint, because this is absolutely improper.
Thank you. Mr. Thacker, and then Mr. Bass, I have you as well.
Dr. Pace, help me refresh my memory. Did we not about a year ago vote as this board, that we were going to pursue this?
Yes, I believe the date was in the agenda item.
2021.
And at that time, was it not, I thought it was discussed that it was pretty much this deal, that we were going to allow them to use the building because we weren't using it at the time.
It's not suitable for student use in terms of, it doesn't meet SREF standards. We were using it for some professional development activities, but we felt like as a district, we could reshuffle that if this was the board's direction to support this community initiative that is designed to support our students.
Yeah, because these are our students, and it's every day after school, right?
Yes, sir.
Every day.
And summer programs.
And summer programs. I don't have a problem with the overall, with the lease doesn't worry me as much. What does worry me a little bit is I know they raised, I don't know, $500,000 or something to kind of, how much? $300,000 to kind of get their charter or whatever they call it going. I am a little concerned with the $500 a month, and then we pick up the overages. I kind of agree with Mr. Arguello. I was just reading the things that are included in that. I know what I pay for internet at home, and we're about there. So, I don't know if there's any wiggle room for them, but that's the only part that kind of concerns me, because I didn't feel like, I feel like we signed up for the building, but not to help them operate.
Thank you. Mr. Bass?
Okay, the genesis of this whole thing was started with a conversation between Raylene Ketchum and myself. We wanted to do something. St. Cloud was growing, and there was a need for a Boys and Girls Club. We saw how successful they were in Kissimmee. So we said, let's do it. And her and I said, let's take this on. I think it's time. St. Cloud needs one. We reached out to Boys and Girls Club, set the guidelines of what is it that we need so we can start working in that direction. They obviously wanted it within walking distance to schools, so it would be more accessible to our students. So, okay, we can do that. We looked at several locations to maybe try to build a building. Obviously, the cost of the land was just too excessive. This particular building, I think, I don't remember if I was talking to Randy or Dr. Pace or whom it was. I think we drove by the building and said, well, what about this? This would be a great location. The city of St. Cloud, Dave, I see you in the audience. I think it's, even though it's a large, it's a larger parcel, we're only going to be able to use just the building because the back part is used for parking for the park, the cannery park. It's parking for them, so that's not something that we would be able to use. We're just going to use what was going to be chain link fence. So before we moved forward, I said, well, let me at least run it to the board. So August 17th, 2021, I came here and we voted unanimously, I believe, to move forward with it. And everybody was just everybody was saying great things about it. So now here we are at 7:45 on the night of we're going to approve the lease. Now, if you want, we can take it back, and Boys and Girls Club said we needed to raise a minimum of $300,000, which was that was a lofty goal because that would take 3 years worth of revenue. And as far as our forecasting, as it stands right now, the reason the location was ideal is because directly across the street is where our maintenance facility is, and that's 2 acres. That's 2 acres.
Larger parcel, I think.
It's a full city block, and that's where our maintenance currently is located. Well, since we're building the transportation facility on Nova Road, there's going to be a shift. There's going to be, now our maintenance yard is going to go to the current bus barn on Michigan, and then from Michigan, the bus barn is going to go out to Nova Road. And we're hoping, because I know the city has their eye on purchasing that parcel of land. If the Boys and Girls Club, and we're going to be very optimistic with it, because there's been a lot of people who have expressed an interest, but if it expands beyond that, we can hopefully, maybe we can move across the street and utilize those buildings that are already there and have an agreement with the city. I'm not trying to, this is no pet project, I'm just trying to do what's right for the kids in our community. It just happened that this building kind of chose us because it wasn't being used, it wasn't used for classroom, it was just used for spillover for curriculum development. So what not a better use for that? We've had a great fundraiser. We've been working our tails off for the last 2 years just raising money so we can get this up and going. And if you want us to readdress the lease as far as maintenance, I have no problem doing that. But I reached out to Jones Homes, for example, and Jones says, listen, we'll go in there and we'll help build a new kitchen and do renovations to the building, which is going to be a direct impact for the school district. So I appreciate your concern, you're looking out for the taxpayers, I get it. But the overall benefit that this is going to be huge for some of these children, some of these families. We're gonna have a full-time, I don't have to explain how Boys and Girls Club, we've got Boys and Girls Club in Kissimmee, and it works phenomenal. So we're just wanting to expand that into St. Cloud. That's it in a nutshell.
I agree, St. Cloud needs us. Our students need us.
We need it close to school so they can walk, because transportation is an issue. We get a lot of children who walk, and Michigan Avenue houses, there's a lot of schools on Michigan Avenue, and kids are just constantly, passing by this building. What a better opportunity, what a great opportunity. The building is already set up with a small little kitchenette, it's got a computer lab, I say a computer lab, it's got an area that could be a computer lab, it's got an area that could be a classroom, two separate rooms. So it was just a perfect fit. That's it.
Thank you. And just for the record, I did go back and look at the agenda item where Mr. Kaltenbacher did seek our approval in this. So it is on the record for any board member or community member who is interested in it. Mr. Arguello and then Mr. Melendez, I have you on deck as well.
Yeah, so let's do it. When we voted on this, we were voting to support the organization, provide them with a place, not give them a place. We never said that we were going to turn over $1 million of assets to any organization. That was never part of the deal. We never said that we were, hey, listen, somebody come in and move into this building as if the money was ours. I know that we have a bad habit of treating this governmental organization as if it's our own backyard, but this is going too far. Number one, you can't shop. You, Mr. Bass, cannot go and shop our property for a pet project. And that's exactly the definition of a pet project, and give them a building. So, this creates a horrible perception. If I give Dr. Pace all 5s on her eval, I'm not saying this is the case, but I'm saying the perception exists, right? I give Dr. Pace all 5s. Is she going to give me a building in District 3 somewhere for me to put my pet project in? It's improper at the core. I don't think that you're understanding. We already have a reputation for being a good old boy type of network and organization. That's not the case for all of us. But certainly you're getting, for me, I can't even imagine the circumstances of me going to a facility saying, you know what, I like that organization. Let me put the Poinciana Predators football team in that building. Dr. Pace, here, I'm wrapping up this building. Hey, board, would you guys support this pet project of mine? And I'll be a good boy, and I'll be quiet, and I'll vote exactly how you tell me. You're creating a perception, okay, that is absolutely improper. We never gave anyone else another chance to occupy this building or the same alternative. Are we going to do that now? If Clarence has already said 1,000,000 times, what about we're creating a precedence here? So now every nonprofit organization can come here and say, you know what? Why did the Boys and Girls Club get $1 million building and we don't get $1 million? We're just as worthy. We're helping our kids. Why don't we get $1 million? So when we talked about supporting this organization, we had a big fight on this dais over $3,000 for kids to go on a field trip. And now you guys are going to just give away $1 million building?
It's not $1 million building.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm speaking.
It's not $1 million building.
Wait a second.
What is your assessment, Mr. Property
I'm an appraiser.
I'd say, what is your assessment of the value of this property? You interrupted me, so go ahead and, what is the, okay then. So feel free to insert a number. You're gonna give what, is that $100,000? Is it 200, is it 300? Is it 5?
Whatever you say.
6, 7, 8? Okay, so I'm asking you, it's your expertise. Whatever that number is, it's improper. If it's $5, we had a fight over here. Mr. Thacker resisted like crazy the idea of giving some teenagers $3,000 to go on a field trip because we were creating a precedent. Now we're giving away a 6-figure building piece of property for essentially $1 a month, and we're paying their fees to operate. If this weren't you, Mr. Bass, who else would get this deal? I know Mr. Thacker might. Maybe Teresa would get the same deal. I know I wouldn't. I couldn't get it. Not that I can't find an organization that's just as deserving as the Boys and Girls Club. So that's what makes it improper, is that basically you're using your influence to give away X amount of dollars in assets to an organization without putting it out to the public for opportunity. Okay? And that's what people don't like about the business, the way it operates here in Osceola County. People don't like that. The community does not like it. Nobody wants that. What people want is fair, honest, and transparent. So am I willing to, you know what? I'll write a check for $100 right now to the Boys and Girls Club, Mr. Bass, okay? That's supporting them. You know what? They can use any facility on any weeknight for free, and let's waive the fees, okay? That's supporting them. Let's allow them once a month, or let's weekly even, any facility, let them pick a facility in St. Cloud. Every 2 weeks they can come in, we'll waive the fees. That's what we thought we were signing up for. Nobody thought, oh, well, this is Mr. Bass's pet project, so let's give them an X six-figure building. That's ridiculous. The lease is ridiculous. The action is ridiculous. The fact that no one else had the opportunity to do this is unfair and ridiculous. The building found you? I mean, no, you're out there shopping. You're out there picking and choosing like if this is your fiefdom. It's ridiculous. You have no idea what it. Imagine just being a commoner like John Arguello, looking at Mr. Bass picking a piece of property that he's going to assign to his nonprofit organization. You just have zero sensitivity to the community that you're surrounded by, sir.
Mr.
Giveaway. I'm sorry.
Melendez.
One more thing. Two more things. One is due diligence. If you're going to come here and you're going to give away the public assets as if they're your own, at least do your due diligence and say, I gave this opportunity to 10 nonprofits, boys and girls who are going to help the most number of kids for the least amount of money and least amount of investment on our part. This is what the community, I've surveyed 10,000 members from St. Cloud, and they said this is what they want. We're all on board. The county is going to put in half of these costs. The city's going to put in a third of these costs. Everybody's involved here, and we're going to go to town and we're going to make this happen for our community. No, you're just like, you know what? I like this building. Please wrap that building up and send it to my organization over here. Lastly is equal opportunity. Give people a chance to have a say. Give the community a chance to have a say. Give other nonprofit organizations a chance to have a say. And if you would, please, if you guys can stop acting like this is your own personal fiefdom, this fief right here would appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Melendez, I'm going to interrupt you because I don't have a buzzer to put myself on the line. Right now, it sounds, I'm just going to read into the record what happened on August 17th because it sounds like folks didn't know what they were voting for, but I'm looking at the exact item right now, and it specifically says, Attorney Kroppenbacher will seek the board direction on entering the facility use lease agreement with the Boys and Girls Club. The desired space for the lease is a Center for Curriculum Development located at 10th Street and Virginia Avenue, St. Cloud, Florida. Now, I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that this conversation isn't fruitful, necessary. This is a fine conversation. My question to the board is, why was this conversation not had on August 17th, 2021, when it clearly states exactly what we were doing? And I'm going to go ahead and move over to Mr. Melendez. Mr. Arguello, I'm going to move you after Mr. Melendez because I'm on the list.
Right. Now,
Wait.
I acknowledge, and I've said it before, so I acknowledge that we had a conversation about helping the Boys and Girls Club before. I'm not surprised by the fact that I see it. What I'm surprised, though, is I didn't think we were going to give it away for free for $1 and then subsidize them. That's where I'm having the rub with. It's not with helping the organization. You know, so now that we're seeing the details come out and we're just completely giving it away for free. Again, I thought maybe a waiver, they can use it on the weekends. You know, I like the idea. The organization's a good organization. But I don't, I'm going to use Stacker's words. It's true. I don't want to establish a dangerous precedent. Now, I don't think Mr. Arguello can say it's personal. I don't care about that stuff. You know me, I care about process and not establishing improper precedent. I'm more concerned about that. And so, because it was properly brought up, we mentioned it, that we want to help the Boys and Girls Club, and I did. But if I knew that it was going to be a free building, then I definitely would have brought something up at that point. And I would say, wait a second, who else wants a free building? I would have shopped out, 10,000 nonprofit organizations to sit there and say, who wants a free building? But I had no clue it was going to be a free building. And on top of it, not only a free building, but pay for some of the operational costs and then pay for some of the maintenance. It's even more than a free building. It's like we're helping you become an organization. So I wasn't under the impression that it was that level of detail. So yes, I was cognizant of it, so it wasn't like some special deal. What makes it unique is the fact that we're just giving it away for free. You know what I mean? And that is where I have the rub. We can't do that. You know, if that was the intent from the very beginning, we didn't say that and say, oh, by the way, we're gonna give away a free building. Again, you give that away to everyone to have that opportunity. And so that to me is where it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And the other thing too is that what Mr. Bass had mentioned, you know, because I like to discuss things a little bit more rationally. He said that, and his intent was they looked at, hey, let's help. Let's look at the cost of land. It was too expensive. Yes, the build and buy land is expensive. So yeah, come to the school district and get it for free. I'm like, of course. Why don't you pay us something? You raised $300,000, pay us something for that money. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a second, pay us, you know, a fair market value of the property. It's 2,300 square feet. What's the fair market value? About $1 square foot. You know, that's $2,300 a month. Maybe we give them like a 20-30% discount, or maybe we tell them, hey, we're not going to pay you rent for the first 6 months. You know, structure it more like a traditional lease if you were going to do that. And so that's where I had the rub, Mr. Bass. And I apologize if my colleague takes it so personal.
Trust me.
So, but I do want to let you know that to me, I don't take it that personal. I'm just evaluating it for the face value. So yes, I was aware of it and I was willing to help them. I just wasn't expecting it to be for free. You know what I mean? So that's where I had. So if you want to redo this lease and come up with a reduction of fair market value, I'm still even willing to do that and move forward.
Okay, very different conversation. Mr. Argoyo, I do apologize. On my list, I have Mr. Thacker to go next. I just want to confirm, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I
Yes,
just
okay,
want,
thank you.
I don't think we're gonna probably settle this tonight. I think there's some issue. I think we did make that commitment on the building a year ago, roughly a year ago. I am not comfortable with the kind of the open-end overage on the $500 deal. I don't really know who did this. Can we send this? Like I said, I'm supportive of the lease piece, but I'm not supportive of this. If somebody could take a crack at that and come back and say this is where it's at, this is what they could do, not do, or, you know, maybe give some directions on a better way to handle that piece, Mr. Krumbacher. Either one he did.
Could I recommend that you table this to the next meeting?
Bring it back to the next meeting.
Next meeting, and I will.
I'll make a motion
I will
to
contact
bring this to
their
the
lawyer,
next meeting.
and we'll attempt to work through this. And I understand there were two issues that would ameliorate some of the concerns. One would be rent of some form, and the other would be the maintenance.
But
Which Okay.
We asked Frank to help with the lease, and you helped draw off the lease. We were lockstep in just trying to get the funds available so we can get the club itself off the ground. So I appreciate what you've done, and I have no problem going back and readdressing this. I truly don't. So there's a lot of dedicated people who would like to see, you know, the Boys and Girls Club have an appearance in St. Cloud, and this location or locale is conducive to that, and that was the reason. So, but I'll be glad to get with you, Frank, and with the representatives from Boys and Girls Club and go over further details with that.
We need to vote on.
Bringing it to the next meeting? Yes.
Second.
I'll make a motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Melendez. I
Discussion.
suppose discussion by Mr. Argoyo.
Yeah, so, excuse me, this is personal for me, and it's personal in two respects. Number one, this is not fair, this is no way fair treatment across the board, okay? No, not everyone on this board would go and get a free six-figure building for their organization. So it is personal for me, okay? Number two, the lack of respect for the community to do zero due diligence, okay? And then say, oh, well, the board agreed to help them. We never mentioned the price. We had no details. If we had if you come back and we have the same discussion that we had last year for this same issue, I would approve it again. But if you came back with this lease that says that they pay $501 a month, and then we subsidize the rest of it, I would have the same reaction. It's crazy that you would even have the gall to come and ask. So it is personal because And you even got them free legal advice from our attorney. It just doesn't make any sense. You got Businessman of the Year award, but there's no business in this. It's mind-boggling that anybody would try to take advantage of the public like this. It is mind-boggling.
Take advantage of the public.
Sir, I'm speaking still. Yes, take advantage of the public. Would you like for me to expand on that? Yes, that's exactly what this is. This is their money. They own this. Somebody owns this. You're not taking over somebody's dilapidated a shack that they've abandoned. This is the public asset. And you're giving it away to your pet project owner. You're giving it away to your organization that you want. The organization is not the problem here. They are great. They are potentially most deserving for this. But the lack of due diligence is disrespectful. And the fact that if I ever came, you guys would laugh at me and I'd get like 15 ethics complaints against me for even considering doing this. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So yeah, it's personal because number one, don't put words in my mouth. I have no problem putting my position in public, right? I think that you've come to that conclusion. So I agree we should help Boys and Girls Club and every organization that comes here. If we can provide them with help, I'm all for it. I will vote for it and I'll support it. But if you're going to give away $1 million of school district money when we can't even pay our teachers to have a hurricane day, it's what are you doing? That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Thacker?
I was just going to call a question.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Board, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
To be clear, we're voting to bring this back next week. Is that what you're voting for, or next meeting? Is that what you're voting for?
I think that 2 weeks is not enough time to rectify this process.
Okay.
I think it needs to be completely stricken and started over from scratch. It shouldn't be in 2 weeks. If you can resolve this.
I just wanted to make sure you were clear on the motion.
I'm clear. Thank you.
4-1, thank you. Next item on the agenda is 23.03. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the evaluations.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Thacker, a second by Mr. Bass, with questions by Mr. Melendez and Mr. Arguello. Mr.
Madam
Melendez.
Chair, may I clarify one thing?
Yes.
In making that motion, just for the record, that is confirming that the majority of this board has determined that the superintendent did in fact either meet goals or make satisfactory progress towards the goals, just so we're very clear.
Thank you.
That was my motion, and it was the motion, we're accepting all 5
Yes.
individual
We're accepting the,
approval.
what was submitted.
Correct. No,
Evaluations. Awesome.
Thank you. Mr. Melendez, it was very close, but I think you're.
It's fine. Okay. Yeah, it was almost onto that, because, now, what's the superintendent bonus tied to that? You know, is it tiered? Is it like, if there was like an average of 3, X number of money, 4, X
If
number
the
of money?
majority of the board determines that the superintendent either has met goals or is making satisfactory progress, then she's eligible, if I'm correct, Dr. Pace, for a $4,000 bonus.
For each one.
Per each goal.
Yes, for each goal.
So, I mean, I didn't create a contract like that, you know, because to meet goals, to me, means you did your job. So you shouldn't really get a bonus to do your job. You know, if there is gonna be a bonus, you do it for exceeding your job. So, but I guess, you know, you can always modify the contract, but to me, that just seems illogical. Because if I pay somebody, I expect them to do their job. I shouldn't have to give them a bonus to meet expectations. You know, and that's just a philosophical agreement, and then that's just my opinion. Now, if somebody exceeds expectations and you go beyond what I pay you, you know, you're giving me more value than what it is. To me, that is a justification for a bonus. So well, I guess I can make a motion, can we modify the superintendent contract to sit there and say, you know, if we don't have it's not a 3 to trigger the bonus, that you have to have an average of a 4, or an average, because a 4 is what meets it. No, 4 is meets expectations. I'm sorry, no. You have to have an average of a 5, because meet expectation is expectation. I'm paying her, you know, or the board is paying her money to meet expectations. That's why they're the superintendent, right? So we're paying them the highest salary of the entire organization to do that. That I motion to modify the superintendent contract to make the bonus where you have to be a 5, which is outstanding across the board through a majority of the board in order to qualify for bonus.
We already have a motion on the floor.
Okay, then I'll do my motion well, my motion's kind of contingent. I guess my motion would be for future evaluations and not for this evaluation then. So I guess I'll wait for this motion to finish to create a new motion.
Okay.
Because you're even saying a 3 is acceptable, satisfactory. A 4 meets expectations. So we're saying if you're acceptable and satisfactory, you're not even meeting expectation, you qualify for a bonus?
Are you saying you want to change the contract for next year?
I wanted to
because
change
we
it for-
have-
I wanted to change-
Our contract is, the contract for the superintendent is what, 5 years? And we approved that when? And I'm assuming this language was in that contract that we approved before?
Yes, it's been part of this board.
It was prior to me, yeah, I never had the opportunity, because I would never have given a bonus for somebody being acceptable and satisfactory.
Dr.
I wouldn't even
Bates
give a
is
bonus for a meet expectation.
When was the last time we approved Dr. Base's contract?
Uh,
Talking about the contract and not the evaluations.
The contract was approved, an amended employment agreement on September 18, 2018. It provided for a 5-year term that expires at midnight, June 30th, 2023. You do not have the ability to modify this particular contract during the term through 23. That'd be tantamount to.
With all due respect, Mr. Kruppenbacher, an amendment to my contract was approved last year by this board for 1 year.
The one they gave me. So the reality is, first let's deal with the evaluation before we get to the amendment of the contract. It's 2 different issues.
Okay.
I agree, that's the reason why I wanted to bring that up.
Okay, I defer to my colleague, Ms. Arguello.
Ms. Margoya?
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, talking about the realm of what's ridiculous. So, the accountability ratings are as such. 1 out of 5 is unsatisfactory. 2 out of 5 is improvement expected. 3 is acceptable. 4 is meets expectation. And 5 is outstanding. So I'm not sure where anyone else has worked, but you can basically get a C and you get a bonus at your job, right? What's a C? You can be perfectly mediocre, right? And you can get a bonus of $20,000 or 20, whatever it is, at your job. Of course, there was a 4-1 vote, as they had mentioned. I was voting against it because it doesn't make sense. You basically guarantee a bonus here, no matter how bad somebody does at their job. So again, 1 is unsatisfactory, 2 is improvement expected. So, the district goal 1, academic success, okay? The majority of the board voted for meets expectation. I don't know about you, but meets expectation would not be being 10 spots from the bottom of the list. It's easier to find Osceola County academically if you start at the bottom and work your way up than if you start at the top and work your way down. Okay? How you can score a 4, again, is just, I mean, it's like giving away $1 million building for free. It makes no sense whatsoever. Goal number 2 is talent management. I'm not sure if you guys have been watching these meetings, but we had 1,000 employees tell us that our district is in horrible shape in terms of morale. Talent management, a 4, the majority of the board. Some voted 5, some voted 4. Okay? Meets expectation. My expectation is that our employees are happy, at least the majority of them, right? When you do a survey of our employees, they should be happy if you're going to get this meets expectation at least, right? Number 3, Goal District 3, fiscal responsibility. Did you guys just see the item that was up for vote right now? Okay, it's gonna get passed at the next meeting, all right? So we're gonna vote again. Number 1 is not this person did terrible. It just means unsatisfactory. It means you expect more. 1 is to expect more. I think it's pretty obvious that the community expects more when we're giving away buildings for people's pet projects. Number 4 is community engagement. Okay, people can make an argument, right? After all, our superintendent does a podcast and whatever, and okay, maybe you can put 3 or 4. I'm not gonna argue with this one, whatever everybody put is great. 5, school safety and security. Again, if you watch these meetings, you have seen students come up here and complain that they're bullied. We've had, how many lockdowns, Superintendent, have we had in this school in the first few weeks? Do you know?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, sir, but the majority have been for community police activity.
If I were the superintendent, I guarantee I would know how many lockdowns we had. It's only been a few weeks since school started. That's to me, in my opinion, that would be the number one number. Not all of them have. We have had students with weapons on campus, have we not?
Yes, sir, we have. We didn't even have to have a lockdown at OHS because the police was aggressive in identifying the situation and correcting it.
So there was no lockdown with a weapon on campus?
The lockdown did not have to occur because we were notified by another student that there was a gun in a car. The car was searched. The students who were in the car were secured without any disturbance to the rest of the campus.
So
And all of that information was shared with the board.
Actually, it was not necessarily all shared equally amongst all the board members, I can assure you, because a lot of the times I'm left out of the loop when we have lockdowns or so on, and I have to find out from parents. So
I'm happy to share with you my text chain, sir.
yes, I
It's
saw.
all 5 of you.
Yes, you do text all 5 of us, right? Okay, I understand that. But we don't all get equal conversations. I think recently there was I had a ton of employees come to me and explain, have deep concerns over some hiring practices. And I don't want to make all that public, but I also asked you questions regarding that issue. That was a pretty important issue. You chose to ignore me, okay? So maybe if I put all 5, you wouldn't ignore me, you'd answer my calls. But if you look at these scores, this is ridiculous when you have all 5s, which is outstanding, which means has exceeded expected outcomes for goal. Is being a C district 1 point away from a C exceeding expectations? I mean, to my fellow board members, we're exceeding expectations in talent management. We have a higher ratio of vacancies than our neighboring counties do, but we're exceeding expectations. This is just a sham evaluation. Instead, you might as well just do a blind, hey, we took a survey, she got a 5, give her the bonus. I don't agree with renegotiating the contract. I think that that's unfeasible. It's bad legal practice. I get that. But this is the mistake you make when we have board members saying, I would sign your contract for 20 years. Then you can't be serving the community if you believe that. We should be demanding more when you're behind the dais. You should be demanding something. You don't give away. Maybe this is the problem why we don't have bad academics is because we're giving away A's for free without work. There's no metrics here. There's no metrics there. Here's the thing. If the bottom line was, if this were an A district, I would keep my mouth shut and I would vote for your bonus. If you were a district that was performing, if we didn't have the gaps, if we weren't near the bottom of the list statewide, if we weren't 10 points below the state average, I would keep my mouth shut and I would vote for your bonus. But for people to put outstanding for academics is ridiculous. It shows that there's no reflection, there's no heart, there's no love for the community we're public officials. Not you, Dr. Pace, but the 5 of us we're public officials. We owe it. We owe it to be critical in these. We owe it to improve our district. But I guess, hey, maybe I'll put 5s in the next one. I'm gonna start looking for property from the school district to give to my nearest nonprofit.
Thank you. Mr. Melendez, I know you had a question. I just want to move into privilege. The contract that we approved, or it's the agenda item that we approved on September 21st, 2021 does include the extension of the contract and the bonus structure. So I just wanted to make that clear while we are voting for this one particular item. And you have the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, my evaluation is a matter of public record, and so
I'm saying, like, everybody can see it.
yes. And what I'm trying to say is, I'm not going to read it verbatim. That was the purpose of me saying that,
Okay.
because I want to save them the torture of me reading line by line what I said. So it's a matter of public record is to tell them, hey, if they want to see my full evaluation, they can log online and see that.
Can we have that, the evaluation put on the agenda?
All of ours are except for yours.
Yes, that's why I'm asking.
So
the-
the members of the board, I would ask that you add the evaluation of Mr. Arguello to the packet. I gave it to all of you, so it's in the packet in front of you.
So you're asking Tanya to add
Tanya,
it
to
to the
please
agenda.
add that, if
Okay.
you would. Thank you.
Yes, and I'm only gonna highlight, because there's some areas that I do believe that Dr. Pace is exceeding, and at least I can justify my positions. You know, on number one, I look at it from the scope of, yes, there was a pandemic, and I've seen what the school district was able to accomplish. Sometimes, when you look at the assessment of the superintendent, you look at how effective the staff is doing too. So to me, when I rate, I take that into consideration. So staff did a great job dealing with the pandemic, coming back, and I remember the first year, before this one, we were all asking for immunity, that please don't grade us because we understand that there's gonna be a huge learning loss. The fact that we had the first year of rating academics after the pandemic was done, I saw improvement. Now, maybe because we're at the bottom, they go up, I mean, I don't know why, I'm not gonna come up with a conspiracy theory. I can only use empirical data, and I can tell you, Dr. Pace, I do appreciate the fact that your staff worked well into getting them up there, and that's why I rated you high on that one. On talent management, the reason why I rated you low on talent management, I have to be honest with myself too. We look at the empirical data. We had a huge amount of resignations, from veteran teachers. Those are your teachers that have the most ability to move your students academically. So when you fill a bunch of new first-year teachers, they're not going to have that same ability to deal with student discipline, to move them forward. So that was huge. And then also, when we came to Kelly, you know, I was the one that said, hey, let's use Kelly Services to try to augment our ability to recruit more teachers, because we don't want to have vacant classrooms. And all of a sudden, it turned out to be that we're not going to do substituting on their own. We're just going to use Kelly to do the whole deal. And to me, I didn't think that was a very prudent move on your part. I wanted to augment what we were doing so we could double the effort. And I didn't like the fact that we used Kelly instead of the district. I wanted to use Kelly and the district because we were hurting, we were bleeding. We didn't want to keep losing more teachers. So to me, that's not a very good direction on your part to do that. And so that's why I scored you low on talent management. Now, fiscal responsibility, forget it, man. We're losing money every single school district. I should have like a scorecard of how much money we lose every board meeting, so I don't even want to get into that. Community engagement and governance, you know, one thing I would like to see is that we engage people more when we make some decisions that we don't quite understand. You know, when we did the SRO task force, you know, that wasn't a genesis of the rest of the board. I knew that when that incident happened, it looked bad from a public policy perspective. And we could have just said, hey, we're just gonna do whatever we want. But then the Black Lives Movement, we had protesters, the student had hired, you know, Crump, a famous attorney. So what did I do? I responded by having a community advisory board and really listening to them for suggestions how to make things better. And so when we did the book review committee and we put like 19 members of staff and only like 3 community members, I didn't feel that it was an equitable distribution to value the input of the community. So, but I do understand that certain things were done, but again, that's why I kind of put a 3. You know, I don't think you're doing bad, but you're not doing outstanding, you know, in that regard. You know, safety and security, yes, I can say that. With Mr. Arguello's point, safety and security isn't preventing every single incident from occurring. There's going to be incidents that occur. And that one incident that we mentioned, everything happened the way it was supposed to be. I mean, matter of fact, we trained students to see something, say something. They saw it, they reported it, we responded, and so I think we did a very good job. The reason why I didn't give you a 5, because, you know, I was actually inclined to give you a 5, but there were, and I put them in my notes there were some security gaps, you know, and I don't want to go into each one of them, but you are aware of those gaps. And now we got a security assessment coming into us, which was done late, you know, because we had to cancel a board meeting. That's not your fault, but, you know, we couldn't have a board meeting to turn in the state security assessment on time. But that state security assessment will show that there's some areas of deficiency that we need to work on. So that didn't justify the 5. But I do felt that you were very good in that respect. So I'm not going to go over every single one of them. I just wanted to at least go over the top 5, the core competencies, and at least try to say that, at least in my evaluation, was an honest assessment of your performance. And then also, when I felt that there was a deficiency, I tried to justify it with specific points on needs for improvement and why I did it that way.
Thank you, Mr. Thacker.
I'm just gonna have to call a question on this.
I already got my question.
I think we got executive session too.
No, Ms. Gaines.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, the executive, I'm canceling it again.
Then I'd like to call this question.
Okay.
No, second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to call the question. Board, all those in favor to call the question, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Okay, so motion to call the question passes, which means that we are voting. Let's get on item 21.02. We already had a motion and a second.
Yes.
Was it?
Mr. Thacker and then Mr. Booth.
Mr. Booth?
You got to be.
Are we back at?
What's the
Bass.
difference?
Mr. Bass, okay, so motion by Mr. Thacker, second by Mr. Bass. Are all those in favor to approve the annual evaluation for 2021-2022? Again, we are approving the evaluation. State aye.
Now, are we approving with Mr. Abreu's evaluation absent, or are we?
No, we
gonna
have
do it?
to, I mean,
They're all, no,
I don't
it's
think
all
that-
part of it.
Yeah.
This is part of
When
it.
you-
I don't think
It's
his
in this
can't be
orange
part of
folder.
it.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
We will amend it, I suppose, after the meeting, so the public has a chance to review it as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm in favor.
Are all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
Madam Chair, could I just, I don't want to miss something. Dr. Pace, can you and I get together? I want to make sure that that we don't slip and make the security assessment a public record.
Correct, it will be an executive content.
Just so the board knows that's
And
not.
for the record, it was completed on September 3rd. It was over, and somehow when Mr. Yates sent it to Tanya, Giselle, and me, and said, please send it to the board so that you had a chance to review it, we all assumed somebody else did it. So you will be getting that in your email as a confidential document so that you have plenty of time to review it before the meeting on October 18th.
Good, Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, so do you have any additional comments, Mr. Krokenbacher?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. We do not have any unfinished business, and I'm just confirming one more time, I don't have anything listed for new business, just want to wait, nope. I don't have anything.
We wanted to discuss the.
I forgot what it was.
District
What was it?
assessment testing schedule.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
the workshop, the
yes.
workshop.
I totally forgot. We had like a long meeting.
So when is the next workshop that we have before a board meeting, if I may ask?
We canceled the facilities one on November the 1st because we don't had anything that we needed to discuss.
Can we do the workshop for the assessment schedule then?
We can be ready for November 1st.
And
Everybody
that's my
be there?
suggestion, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks.
I would like that idea.
4 p.m.?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll add that to the calendar and change it to an assessment workshop.
thank you. And that's all of our new business. Any additional comments, board?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, so move to